Prepare yourself.
Oh, this is the Ninja Troll Digicast.
Hello again and welcome to the Cathedral of Wisdom for the Ninja Troll Digicast. It's a little different this week. Myself, Tim Dixon, I am here, of course, always. But usually I'm joined by Mike Worth. Unfortunately, this week, Mike is on a Disney cruise.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am being joined by somewhat the voice of the Ninja Troll Digicast.
Why, thank you.
Chris Carpenter will be here this week for us.
Well, I appreciate the chance to come and co-host. And I'd like to say this real quick. And I asked permission before we rolled if you had time for this. But seriously, Tim, and this goes to Mike also, you guys do a kick-ass podcast. This thing is really good. And if anyone is listening and you know people, even if they don't really like comics, have them listen because it's got tons of chemistry and I would listen to it if I didn't know you. And and I've been listening to podcasts since 2008. You guys do a great job.
And the check will be made out to
Christopher
J.
Carpenter. Thank you very much.
There you go. Well, this week, we're going to be talking about, we had talked about it last week, that because Chris is going to be here and I've just started to get into Doctor Who. We're going to talk about Doctor Who because Chris knows a good bit about it, and I've watched some more since then.
And specifically the latter-day Doctor Who from 2005.
Yeah,
but a little bit of the older stuff.
Yeah, I think kind of the thing is going to be that I'll keep up with that, with the new, as they call them in England, the new series.
The new series.
Because instead of a season, it's a series.
Correct. And that can cause all manner of confusion until you learn that.
Until you figure that out. But yeah, we're going to talk about Doctor Who and the new, like from 2000, like he said, from 2005 on. Also, in our showcase segment, we're going to talk about Kryptonite.
I love this one.
This is going to be a good one because we're going to go back in the history of Kryptonite, when they came up with it and why they came up with it. But then it's going to get wacky with all the different colors because there's been literally a rainbow of different colors.
You can make a color wheel from all the Kryptonite.
Absolutely, and they all did different things.
That's cool.
And it wasn't just different colors; they're just different names of Kryptonite.
Well, I'm sure that they, in their punny kind of humor, they, I'm sure, went crazy.
Yeah, it was really, really wacky at different points.
That's awesome.
So, and in our comic rack, we've got a lot of news from a couple of new series that are getting ready to start. Cool. A big embarrassment, basically, for DC Comics.
Oops.
And a lingering Star Wars question has been answered in the comic books now.
Oh, really? Well, see, that's good because we want to answer questions, and this is one that
it's a
current movie set up. Did the current movie set up the question? No. Okay, so this is
a long
older than
time,
that. Okay,
long time lingering question. And in our movie and TV news, we've got we got a new trailer for Daredevil season 2. Although we didn't get any new footage. I was a little disappointed about that, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about stuff that's coming up from the Legends of Flaro universe.
Oh, wow.
So we've got a lot of stuff going into movie and TV news. But first things first, The Force Awakens, Star Wars, the new Star Wars movie.
I've heard of it.
Yes, vaguely. Has passed Avatar to become the highest grossing domestic box office hit.
Wow.
In history.
I mean,
and it did it in 20 days where Avatar did it in 336.
That is just absolutely, it's still unbelievable despite the fact that it's Star Wars. You never can guarantee how things will hit. And I can say just for myself, I am just pleased because and this, the movie, it hit all the Star Wars notes I was wanting it to hit. And I know it's not perfect. And I know in a lot of cases people have complained that it's kind of the same thing over again. My thing is it's all about myth and it hits those myth notes, if you will. And and it did it with humor and action. And
it felt right.
And it literally felt like I was on an e-ticket ride, a good kind of e-ticket ride, in a movie theater, and I liked it better the second time I saw it.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it a second time. I need to do that. And that's one thing. Like I said, Mike is on a Disney cruise, and he was hoping they had a movie theater on the ship. So he was hoping maybe that they would be showing.
Have you heard from him?
He texted me and said they're showing it 3 times a day.
Oh boy!
So when he gets back, he'll probably have seen it like 6-7 times.
I'm sure. If you just want some air conditioning and to hang out with some lightsabers,
there you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So I know he's going to go and see it at least one more time. I need to do that. And I thought about, I talked about last week that you had talked about seeing it in the IMAX theater.
I did.
IMAX 3D, and I was thinking of doing that up until the point I looked at the price.
Yeah, it's a little steep.
Essentially
it's
$20 a pop.
You might want to talk to
before popcorn
to your loan agent before. Well, whoever loans you the money for the candy might be able to. You
can just have a writer.
I will say this now: if basically everyone, I think, has to at least try a 3D movie once to see if your vision can adapt to it.
Even more importantly, one that's shot in 3D, because there's older ones that have been turned into 3D that are not the same.
Well, also the bad news is that Star Wars was shot in 2D and was converted because it was shot on film. There's no way to really shoot film in the current 3D.
True.
I will say this. I have a thing with my vision called a weak eye muscle. So I have what's called a prism prescription, which kind of changes the focal way of my glasses.
Okay.
My brain's adapted to it. Anyway, my point is that if you have weird vision things going on with glasses, you might want to think twice about the 3D. I was able to kind of literally put one of my bows of my glasses kind of lower on an ear, and it worked, and it finally clicked in my brain.
Okay.
And when it did, I'm seeing the crawl floating in space, and it was awesome. If it hadn't have been for me figuring that out, I would have had a splitting headache by the time I left the theater. So that's just something to say. A little warning.
But that's the biggest telling thing about this statistic, and you know it's going to happen. You know it's heading for to knock off Avatar as total,
that
like
would be
global.
What is the global? It's
I don't know
$4 billion.
I don't know. I think so. Yeah. But it's at 1 point. Last I checked, it was like 1.7.
Whoa.
And again, you
China hasn't opened yet, right?
China hasn't opened yet, and you hear that number, and you think, oh, okay, that's close to what Avatar did.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't realize Avatar did that in almost a year.
Yeah.
It hasn't been in the theater a month yet.
No.
That tells you right there.
Yeah. I mean, I think
how much it's doing.
There's going to be I'll say this much. If it doesn't pass Avatar, I won't be entirely surprised, simply because you can, like I say, you can never tell these things. But I do kind of suspect that it will.
I think it will.
At this point. It might take 6 months, but I think it will. Unless global openings of the other movies in the pipeline, everything opens differently and in different schedules. So if you start getting Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the Captain America Civil War movie, and whatever else is coming around between now and say June 1st, it could start.
It might slow it down, but I think it'll still.
But the thing is, it's still Star Wars, and it's Star Wars done fan correct, and it's not on the rundown. But did you happen to see the Charlie Rose interview with George Lucas?
Oh yeah, I did. Actually, it is on there because.
You have it on.
Yeah, George Lucas made some unfortunate comments.
Yes.
About selling off Lucasfilm to Disney, comparing Disney to white slavers.
Oops.
And he has backtracked and
time to walk it back.
Walk it back. Whoops, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
The only way to describe that's just a dumbass comment.
It is. My takeaway is this. I love George Lucas. I love the fact that he gave us Star Wars. He is a technical mastermind who has reinvented the way we make movies. That being said, I do believe that how George Lucas as a creator looked at Star Wars and how we as fans looked at Star Wars were never really truly in sync.
It was different.
And I think as time got farther along and the two vectors diverged,
farther and farther
it's
apart.
more evident than ever. Of course, if we love what the new people at Disney and Abrams did, then you look at the prequel trilogy. That's Lucas Unbounded. That's what he did.
That's what he
I
wanted
didn't
to
care
do.
for those. The acting was wooden. But he's not going to like, and of course it's his baby, and I get that.
And if somebody else is doing something that he wouldn't do, whether he wouldn't do it or not, doesn't matter.
Correct.
He's not doing it. So he's going to have a little harsh.
I do think that he should just be grinning ear to ear with his $4.2 billion and just go play golf or make his little independent movies or whatever he wants to do.
And so that was part of his issue, I believe, was the fact that it is now a blockbuster thing.
Yeah.
It's not a small thing like he originally did.
Yeah.
And you're never going to get that feel again.
True.
Of guerrilla movie making.
That's true.
And because that's what he had. He had to invent all these ways to do things.
And it almost drove him to a heart attack, too, at one point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was not
I think
easy.
it was unfortunate comments that he has backtracked and apologized for those.
Because that was a little
pretty stupid.
Yeah, snippy to say the least.
But the also came out this week, the customized vehicles that stood in for Optimus Prime and Bumblebee in the Transformer movies are going up for auction at the end of January.
Oh boy.
I could deal with tooling around in Optimus Prime.
Do they turn into Transformers?
No, they do not.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
They do not actually become robots.
Okay. You knock about $5 off of them.
But they look perfectly.
That's true.
Yeah. And this is from Australia, in a New Year's Eve cricket match between the Perth Scorchers and the Sydney Sixers, the two teams suited up in Batman versus Superman uniforms.
Oh boy.
They were special uniforms that were paid for by Warner Brothers to promote the movie.
Okay.
And at the time at the game, they were giving away a trip to the premiere of Batman versus Superman. And they also handed out capes to the kids.
Now that's cool.
That is really cool.
That's cool. Now, of course, that's big corporate marketing, but that's creative. I mean,
that's pretty cool. And it also gives like a special jersey that the team's fans can buy.
Absolutely.
So because they had them for sale on the.
And can you imagine if you're a kid, like say you're 7 or 8 years old, and you get one of those freebies at that place?
Oh yeah.
And the movie turns out to just kick total butt. Man, you're going to have that thing for the rest of your life.
And
it's going to be a treasured possession.
They looked really good. They looked just like the uniforms for both Batman and Superman.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really cool. And I think it's outside the box kind of marketing thinking.
Yes.
But also, Hot Toys has released a new look at the newest figure in the Age of Ultron line, which is Scarlet Witch. And if you've never looked at the Hot Toys line of figures,
I have not.
It's freaky. It's like you're looking at a picture of the person.
Oh.
Now, calling them toys is a little bit of a misnomer. These are not toys.
Are these more fetish items?
No, these are statues.
Okay.
And they cost $300. When you get
Holy
over
Lord.
$100, it's not a toy anymore.
Well, I mean, it looks like a shrunk down wax museum figure, basically.
It really does. The first time I saw one of these was the Nick Fury figure. And I thought I was looking at a picture of Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, that's cool.
Even down to the scar over his eye, and everything looks so photorealistic on this figure. It's crazy. It's worth $300.
I'm looking online right now to see if they have like life. Sorry. Anyway.
Hey, settle down now.
I'm settled. Okay.
And a little sad news this week. Also, back to Star Wars. Jason Wingreen, the voice of Boba Fett, passed away.
Oh wow.
He was actually a character actor. He was the bartender in Archie Bunker's Place.
Oh, and he did
from All in the on All in the Family and Archie Bunker's Place.
And
he did the voice for Boba Fett.
But now this is the thing. Now this is one of those special editions. They changed the voice.
Did they?
And is it Empire? He's not. He's
worth nothing to me dead.
Yeah. Okay. You know how nasal that originally sounded. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now it was the New Zealand actor who played the Clone Master copy.
Okay.
That actor played.
He
redubbed the voice, and. Yeah, it doesn't have the same thing. It's worth a lot to me, the Empire will, that the line.
Yeah.
So, but it's just not the same because wait a minute, that voice is different. And I looked online. This is years ago. I looked online and they changed it.
Yeah. Well.
But the original actor passed away. That's it.
Yeah. And he never was credited for it, but he was the guy he was like He didn't really care about the credit. He just went and cut a line. It was like
So I assume it could have just been
Hours
Stuntman number 4 one day playing Boba Fett, and then Stuntman number 7 playing him the next, because it's just a guy in a
suit.
with a bucket helmet.
It's just like David Prowse. It could have been anybody.
It could have been.
Yeah, although he
Just
wanted
as long as it's not Hayden Christensen.
no. And this one, this is one of those that it kind of. I think it's a duh moment. Paramount is suing the Star Trek Axanar project, which is a fan film.
Oh, come on.
But they're starting to raise money. They're doing a Kickstarter, and see, that's where you screwed up.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
fine if you're doing a fan film, but when you do a GoFundMe or a crowdfunding thing,
That's true.
That's where you've screwed up
It's starting to become
because you're making money off of their intellectual property.
One of there's got to be, and this is just to go off on a 20-second tangent here, going forward into this century, long after maybe I'm gone, hopefully we figure out a way for intellectual property rights holders and fans to come to some sort of interest, because this is the thing.
Here's the agreement.
Yeah.
You can do fan fiction and you can do fan movies up until the point you start to make money from it.
I understand.
And
that.
That's the agreement. But if you start a Kickstarter or if you start a crowdfunding or a GoFundMe or something like that, then you're asking people to give you money for my intellectual property.
Yeah.
That's where you've screwed up.
I guess so.
I understand.
And you are absolutely right within the letter of the law. The way the law states, you, Mr. Dixon, are absolutely right. My way of looking at it is almost in a community theater model. If you want to be community theater of the internet and do a Star Trek story or a Star Wars story, and
then you arrange it with Paramount to do a play or something like that.
Well, see, that's the thing. Paramount needs to arrange that same kind of thing of a play, but for online, and even host it. Because this is the thing. The reason copyright originally existed is so you, Mr. Dixon, can make money from your work, and if someone else came out with, say, a karate troll, you could have action against them because you don't want to cause market confusion. Fan films, by definition, aren't causing market confusion because the absolute craziest of the fans is who's going to watch those things.
Yeah.
So that's not, you're not protecting against market confusion by protecting the copyright on a fan film,
but I
for
think
something like a Star Trek or a Star Wars.
It's more accurately protecting from a screw up.
Yeah.
And see, I'm coming at it from a point of view of
that they screwed up.
Of a content creator.
Okay.
If I came up with something, if I wrote something and it was published, and then all of a sudden there was people writing other books with my characters in it, I would be a little upset.
I can understand that. I absolutely can.
And if they're selling these books using characters that I created, I'd be really pissed. So that's where I'm coming at.
I guess the question is that does size matter in the sense that, okay, you write a book and it's got some fans and everything. Say it's the success of, say, The Martian.
Yeah.
Okay. Compare that to something like something that is an entire franchise or almost genre to itself, whether it's Batman or Star Wars or whatever. And the law just does not. There's nothing in the law, and probably never will be, except more protection because companies can keep extending the copyright pretty much as long as they want, or use trademark. But anyway, I just kind of wish that there was a way to have people collect money for their project as long as it's not a profit, because you still need money to put on a play.
Yeah.
Whether it's a car wash or whatever. And maybe that's the thing to do.
I think it's a different thing if you're getting together with some friends, go, hey, you want to watch this? That's cool. If you want to give us some money to help offset what it cost us to make it, that's fine. But starting a Kickstarter or GoFundMe is a whole different thing.
And I have to give it to you. That is crossing the line. What one did, I think it was Star Trek Phase 2, before they were Phase 2, I think they would have they would say, hey, give us some Walmart gift cards so we can go buy some wood for the sets.
Yeah.
And that was perfectly
And that's
fine.
fine. That is
Yeah.
perfectly fine. And that's the thing. And Paramount has been really good about these fan projects. So it's not a factor of them just being assholes.
Yeah.
It's to the point to where, okay, you have crossed the line.
Yeah.
And you have to be pulled back.
And the problem too is that there's just nothing in the law where everyone knows they're on safe ground and knows what the rules are, because the rules vary.
Well, just what I told my daughter. It's like, you're much better off instead of, because she was wanting to write some fan fiction, and then she said, I'll just come up with my own character. And I told her, I was like, that is the best thing.
That's the best thing.
Don't try to do anything with other people's characters. Come up with your own.
Yeah.
Don't use somebody else's.
Yes.
Because you're just retreading, unless you get a job working on Batman or something like that. That's a whole different thing. But if you're going to write something, write your own stuff.
And especially if you want to be a writer,
Yeah.
that would be something to do.
So I think that was the issue there. They just kind of stepped over a line to do that. But also Mark Zuckerberg, and this must be nice to be able to have the money to be able to come up with stuff that you want.
Membership
to do.
has its privileges.
Yeah. His New Year's resolution this year is to build an AI that will run his house.
Oh boy.
It sounds like Jarvis from Iron Man.
As long as I don't turn into Skynet from Terminator. We're good.
Exactly. So, like I said, it must be nice to be Mark Zuckerberg and don't have to worry about anything. So you come up with stuff you need to worry about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make an AI to run my house, which would be really cool.
I would have thought Sergey and the other guy from Google would have been the ones doing that.
They kind of have a thing like that.
Okay.
Amazon has something. I don't think it runs your house, but it will.
Oh, the Echo or whatever.
Yeah,
or
Echo.
Trash can. It's actually a cylinder.
It looks like a cylinder. Yeah.
It actually looks like something that would have taken over the Enterprise D on Next Generation.
It's true.
It's like, hello, Captain Picard.
Yeah, it can basically answer like Google. It'll do Google searches and read stuff to you and play music.
It's actually one of the best voice AIs. It's better than Siri. Let me tell you. Anyway.
Yeah. So it's just, it would be nice to have something like that could run your entire household.
Yes.
Although you'd have to have like a system put into your house for it to be to do that. So it's not like that's just going to be next year. Everybody's going to have this stuff and they're going to be opening Windows and stuff
and saying computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but Zuckerberg is working on it. He's on it. So
he's on it.
We're good to go. So, all right, let's just go ahead and transition right into our movie and TV news. And the first thing, this just came out just a little bit ago. The Teen Titans live action series that was in production, or not production, but it was in development at TNT, is dead.
Oh,
I know. I'm disappointed about that, because I was looking forward to a live action Titans show.
Had they set up a showrunner yet, or
no? It was still
just
in development.
very, very beginnings of
development. Still in development. They had basically greenlit the idea.
The accountants got a hold of it.
No, I think they may think they see the bubble.
With comics,
the edge of the bubble.
Peak Comics
maybe.
is coming.
Or they may be looking at it and going, okay, CW's got these 3 shows.
Yeah.
Is that a market that we want to jump into? And it's just like Supergirl. As soon as Supergirl came on, the question immediately was, is Flash and Arrow going to cross over with it?
Yeah.
And that was going to would of course be a question. And did TNT want to have to mess with that, or with people clamoring for that? Or again, their comment was, we decided it wasn't where we wanted to go.
Yeah. One of the things I have wondered is why Supergirl is on CBS and not on the CW.
Well, I don't know if CW wants to do. I mean, they've already got 3 shows.
Oh, that's true, because that would have been 4 because they got Legends
Flash,
of Tomorrow.
Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that one. Wow.
So they may not want to be branded as the comic book network.
Yeah.
So, but it's still being run by the same group, basically. So, the Teen Titans live action series is dead. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it was just announced, will be shot on Red's new Weapon 8K camera.
Holy moly!
Now, if you don't know, there's HD, which is 1920 by 1080 resolution.
Okay.
Then above that, there's 4K, which I don't even know the resolution of that.
It is 4,000 lines.
Yeah.
Where the other one is
it's
2.
1920. So it'd
So
be
it's
like 2000.
4
So it's twice that.
Yes.
Then, is it horizontal lines or vertical lines?
I'm thinking it's horizontal lines. Basically,
So that would be actually 1080.
If you go and look on Wikipedia and it has the pictures of the frame dimensions, literally the HD looks like 1/4 of a 4K image.
Wow. Yes, I'm thinking that's what it is. If it's okay, 4K resolution is this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
3840 by 2160.
Yeah. That's
So
just
it's
nuts.
so 4K is double regular HD.
Correct.
Then this is going to be shot on 8K,
Which is double
which is double that.
Yeah.
That's
And
just ridiculous.
I mean, I wonder if the film holdouts, and you know who I'm talking about. J.J. Abrams is one of them. I wonder if they're going to continue to stay on film because at the end of the day,
off, where are we going to show this?
I know it's all digitized anyway for theatrical playback. Because
as we found out, Chris and I used to work in local TV news. As we found out when we switched from standard definition to HD, HD is not everybody's friend.
No.
So we not necessarily want to see with that much clarity.
That's true.
Because at that point,
soft filter.
Yeah, at that point, everything
Yeah.
is visible.
That's true.
That bump on the skin,
Yes.
that blemish, the makeup,
Absolutely.
the lighting, everything has to be brought up.
There's a lot of nerdy stuff, and this is just a side tangent. But there's a lot of if one listening is into like the photography stuff, you probably already have. But if not, you can go into YouTube and just search 4K, 2K, whatever, and just kind of go into a YouTube
Yeah, you can do that.
YouTube vortex.
Easy.
And there's all sorts of things on there on both sides. And there is a documentary. Keanu Reeves of all people hosted it, and he did a great job. And I honestly don't remember the name of it right now, but it is if you just go and look at his CV on IMDb, you'll find it. He hosted a documentary about the transition to digital cinematography and how people thought about it. You had experts on the Lucas side who love it, and then experts on the Nolan and Abrams side who hate it.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting because no one is wrong. No one is wrong. These are paintbrushes.
Exactly.
And you have a preference of paintbrush, and I get that,
Yep.
So anyway, on to the next one, I guess.
Yeah, so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like.
Yes.
It's just I'd never even heard of 8K.
Well, I mean, it's a CES. They're actually, I think, trying to put out some 8K TVs. I'm not
Holy
kidding.
crap. That's nuts. Because that's just going to make all the other stuff. Like if I watch Andy Griffith on the 8K, it's going to look like crap.
Well, you're going to have to basically project it on a 50-foot screen for it to work. I mean, that's
exactly.
what that. See, this is the thing. It's almost like, and you know this from still photography, you don't take vacation snaps at the resolution made for billboards.
Yep.
There's no reason to. And that's sort of what they're doing with the 8K.
Exactly, yeah. So, but that'll be interesting to see when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 will come out. Yes. Also came out today, Tales from the Crypt will be getting a reboot.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be on TNT. So I guess they killed Titans, but they brought us Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
So I can deal with that. And heading up the project is M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, let's see if he can get
saved.
saved.
Actually,
Let's hope he can.
that makes sense because if you think about Tales from the Crypt, always featured kind of the twist ending.
Correct.
The Twilight Zone style surprise at the end. That's what he does.
That is his
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his thing. So maybe that's perfect for him.
And
But we better have the same dude doing the voice for the Crypt Keeper.
well, or something that is
Or something
exactly
very similar.
like it.
Yeah. Because he became just as popular as the stories.
But you know what'll probably happen, don't you? They'll probably CGI the Crypt Keeper.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
No, it won't look good.
No.
But But yeah, I'm definitely interested because that was fun. I mean, and that has its roots in the EC comics from the 50s.
That's true.
Yeah.
And 80s pop culture.
And 80s pop culture, yeah. So that will be coming on TNT this fall. And also something I ran across a couple days ago. There's a new documentary being done about Charlton Comics.
Okay.
Charlton Comics was the original publisher of Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, are the main people that we know from DC Comics now.
Okay.
They were originally Charlton Comics properties.
Okay.
Charlton Comics was one of those places that kind of from the I didn't know this until I watched the trailer. Apparently, two guys who were in prison started talking and decided to start a comics company. And when they got out, they started Charlton Comics.
Now, how did that work with National DC and Charlton? Did National/DC buy them? Or
They did.
They did.
DC bought Charlton, and that's when Blue Beetle and Captain Atom and some of the other characters made their way into mainstream DC comics. Actually, in Crisis is when they were brought in officially. But it was on one of those, from watching the trailer, it was one of those wing and a prayer kind of place. They cheaped on everything.
Yes.
One comment from the trailer was you could almost smell the paper decaying as it was rolling off of the press. It was so cheap.
Oh, no, that's good.
And they were printing them on, they had presses that were used to print cereal boxes, which is a whole
For real.
completely different type of printing.
Yes.
So they just got whatever they could. But the thing was, some of the biggest names in comic history started at Charlton Comics.
Oh, that's cool.
Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil, who right there, that's two legendary guys right there. But you had Bob Layton, you had Jose Maria Lopez Gonzalez, I think. I forget now exactly. Garcia, not Gonzalez. But he worked on DC Comics and Marvel Comics for a long time during the 80s.
That is cool.
Yeah, some of the biggest names came out of there. And Denny O'Neil actually had a quote in the trailer that said, I loved working at Charlton. Could have used more money.
Yeah.
But basically it was one of those things. I think they were set up and they were outside of the mainstream.
Yes.
And they could do whatever they wanted.
So I guess when DC was it National or DC when they got acquired?
It was DC then.
Did the fun days end when that happened?
Oh yeah, it was closed. What they did is just bought their property.
They bought a fire sale then.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, there was nothing but
they just bought the IP.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, not for them.
Yeah. So, but that if you're interested in that, you can go out and check out charltonmovie.com.
Okay, I'll save that
right
now.
I don't know exactly when the movie is coming out because I cannot wait. They were doing a Kickstarter, but the Kickstarter has ended.
Did they make their goal?
They did. I believe so. Yeah. And it wasn't Kickstarter. It was one of the other ones.
Oh, GoFundMe or one of those?
Yeah, something like that. Or Indiegogo or something like that.
GiveUsMoney.com.
It's a independent. It's a specifically independent film one.
Okay.
I think it was Indiegogo or something like that. But hopefully very soon we'll get word of when it's going to come out because I would love to watch the whole thing. It's going to be really cool.
Did you ever check the one that a guy named John Schnepp did, who I watch him on Collider on the internet all the time? He did the one called The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. It is an excellent documentary.
I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it.
It's like watching all the special features of a movie that was never made.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah. Now, I haven't watched it. I've heard of it many times, but I haven't actually went out and watched it. But I'm a documentary nerd. So I love watching, especially if it's on comics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm golden. So, but the synopsis for the mid-season premiere of Arrow was released. As it reads, Oliver must deal with the devastating consequences of Dark's last attack, and seeking revenge, he goes on a brutal manhunt looking for Dark.
The not killing people is over.
Yeah, well, we were left when last we left our heroes. Felicity looked to be dead.
Yes.
So they're very much trying to make you think that I have no idea whether she's dead or not, but they're definitely
On
leaning
balance,
towards that.
you think that it's actually just we're kind of getting played a little bit because
Yeah, I
it
don't
seems like
think
they're hitting
they're-
it with a broad brush with the
And I don't-
flashbacks to a grave and now this.
Yeah, I don't think they will kill her off. I think somebody's dead
Oh yeah, someone is dead.
because they did show them earlier at a grave, and Barry was late to the funeral.
Yeah.
And when he asked him, he says, "Sorry, I'm late." And Ollie says, "Zoom," and he says, "Yeah." He hasn't really started to bash heads with Zoom yet,
Yeah.
and Ollie, as far as I know, doesn't know about Zoom.
That's true.
So that it seems like it's just a little bit
And
farther in the future.
the one thing I'm thinking that was not Felicity in that grave on that flashback is because Barry was much friendlier with Felicity than his comportment at that grave scene would indicate.
Yeah,
It was almost like
he was more being there for his friend, Yeah.
and not to mourn the loss of his own friend.
And you also didn't see Felicity's mom.
Correct.
So that kind of leads you to believe it wasn't her grave. And also, just from a writing point of view, if she's dead, that's gonna push that show into a really dark place.
Correct. And I don't think it needs to go there.
I don't think they want to do that.
Because the one thing that and I know that in these fantasy shows everything's on the table. It's got to be. I mean, just look at how,
They've already brought 2 characters back from the dead.
That's true. But, I mean, and I don't watch the Game of Thrones, but I hear that they pretty much make just sport out of killing off big time characters all the time.
Yeah.
So that right there is just part of that kind of genre, and I get it, and especially comics. But the one thing that I'm thinking, unless is it Emily Bett Rickards or Rickards? Brett. Okay. She, to me, looks like of the people who are on TV right now, even including the young woman who plays Supergirl. Of all them, I think she's the one who could actually have a movie career. She really pops on screen and is very funny and just commands the screen. Mm-hmm. And, I believe, that if she were to die off, it would be because of that. It would be because her rise as a celebrity might be, coming up. So, but that's the only reason I think. I don't think the writers would just come up with this on their own.
Well,
outside of fooling us, I mean,
basically, yeah. So
now watch, I'm probably 100% wrong,
but we'll see. Actually, in 2 or 3 weeks.
Cool.
It's the 20th. So yes, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from last night.
One of the things you mentioned
as
here,
we were recording.
And by the way, I love the way Dark's name is spelled. Darhk.
HK, yes. That means
he's
really evil.
The guy playing him is just a perfect, scary television comic villain. You don't see many of those.
Yeah.
And he's not wearing a lot of gack and clay on his face.
Nope.
He's just got a beard and he's walking around.
And that's the thing.
He is terrifying.
He is a guy who plays a bunch of different roles, and you never even realize it until you stop and think about it.
That's true.
He was Dum Dum Dugan from the first Captain America movie.
I mean,
and it's one of those things until you stop and think about it, you go, oh yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
He's completely different.
Completely.
Yeah. So he's a hell of an actor. So, but also from the Flaro universe, the synopsis for the Flash mid-season premiere also came out, and as it reads, now that they've grown closer, Barry considers telling Patty that he is the Flash, while Joe and Iris try to get to know Wally, and the team hunts down a metahuman who can slow time itself. Robbie Amell. Okay, that's the end of the synopsis there. But Robbie Amell will reprise his role on The Flash as Ronnie Raymond.
Wait a minute.
But not Earth 1 Ronnie Raymond. He will be from Earth 2, and he will be the villain Deathstorm.
Oh.
Instead of Firestorm. And he is married to the Earth 2 Caitlin Snow, which is Killer Frost. So we saw her in the trailer for the premiere. But you got the impression that it was from Earth 1 because she's saying, well, being bad is so much more fun.
Uh-huh.
So you got to get the impression that she's turned bad, but she's from Earth 2. And also there was a a rumor that I read yesterday on the internet that was very intriguing.
What wasn't?
Everyone we've seen from Earth 2 has almost been a dark copy or a mirror version of the people from Earth 1.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco called it Earth 2, but maybe it's what we know as Earth 3 from the comics.
Oh,
It could be where the crime syndicate comes from,
that's true.
because it does seem to be everybody who comes from Earth 2.
Now, is that Mr. Universe as opposed to Superman? Is that
Ultraman.
Ultraman, okay.
Ultraman.
It has a U on his chest, right?
Yes, yeah, that's Ultraman. And that is, the crime syndicate is essentially the Justice League, but as villains.
Okay.
And
But is the League of Villains the good guys in that universe, or does it not work with that kind of parody?
no, because they're called the crime syndicate.
Okay.
And the only good guy in their universe was Lex Luthor.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, but I think it could be, very possibly could be.
You have time for a tangential question here?
Sure.
Sidebar. What do you think of, and I can't think of, the actor playing Lex in the new SVB movie? I don't know.
I'll wait until to see the movie.
All of my friends are not sold on the trailer, and I kind of agree with them. But if that silly thing he's doing in the trailer, where he's all kind of, he's all, if that's just his public face, fine.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder has said that just because you see this in the trailer doesn't mean that's his character completely. Yeah. So, and was kind of getting on people who say that they revealed too much in the trailer.
Yeah.
Saying there's plenty more. And he doesn't like to give away stuff.
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, remember the art film trailers for Man of Steel. I mean, with butterflies and it looks like hands and wheat and wind blowing and so you're right.
Yeah, and he has specifically said this is not all of Lex's character. So I think it was specifically that. It was just what he needed for the trailer.
I've also heard, and I don't know if you've heard this too, but we haven't seen anything from the third act in any trailer yet.
No.
So
well, see, that's the thing. People think we have.
Yeah.
But he has specifically said that Doomsday is not the third act.
So there you go.
So that scares the crap out of me right there.
So you have no idea what's coming. If Doomsday's not the thing, then what is?
Yeah. So, hey, you never know.
Never do.
But yeah, I will hold out until the movie before because I'm not going to make a determination on whether I like him as Lex Luthor from the trailer.
Okay.
Because that you can't do that.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the movie to actually decide that. But
yeah.
Also from Flash, Diggle and his wife will be heading to Flash to help them chase down King Shark.
Oh, cool.
As part of Argus.
We get to see more of him, huh?
Oh, God, I love King Shark.
Well, that was the one who attacked Barry, and then that was such good effects for a TV show.
Jacked up,
that was
roided out dude with a shark head.
I mean, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that rules.
Yeah, that was really cool. And he's also from Earth 2. So, again, another...
It's the Earth 2 tour package.
Okay, basically, yeah. Zoom was sending everybody from Earth 2 to try and kill him. So
now this is my question to you: who is Zoom? Is it?
That is a good question.
Eobard Thawne? Eobard. I'd never get whatever future name. Is it that guy? Is it Barry Allen? Is it his dad? I've heard
all valid questions. We kind of have to wait.
Now, I don't think he's going to take the mask off and it's going to be Tony Todd. I think Tony Todd's doing
that would be awesome.
Doing Darth Vader. He's just the voice.
Yeah, he's just the voice. But
and a very scary one as he is.
Yeah,
he is.
Well, that's what he does. It's going to be that's going to be the big reveal. Is who he is.
Yes.
It could be several different options. You named a couple that it could be.
Yeah.
Could be somebody completely different.
That's true.
Could be Edward Claris, who was Jay Garrick's version of the Reverse Flash.
Oh, okay.
And he was just called the Rival.
Well, see, this is a confusing thing. Is that Reverse Flash and Zoom are pretty much the same person, right?
Well, okay. There's Reverse Flash, who several different characters have been called.
Okay.
Professor Zoom was the first Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. But then there was Zoom, who the second Reverse Flash, who was a guy named Hunter Zolomon. So just dropping the professor off of it, it was weird. I mean, so it could be any of those.
Well, I'll tell you this again, very scary villain, and how he basically pantsed Barry Allen.
Yeah, drug him around town. And
drug him around like a dish rag, and that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too violent.
No.
It was disturbing, but in a family show kind of way.
Like you said, it was basically, he just pantsed him. He proved to everybody in town, this is your hero.
This is your hero. He's nothing. And it was like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's a psychological thing that that Barry will have to get over.
Well, I mean, and he did have that little run in the next episode where he's kind of, and his dad had to come back and get him straight. I would still be crying in my breakfast cereal if that happened to me. I wouldn't. I'd be dead, Yeah. So just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Now, have you seen the trailer for the new Independence Day movie?
I have, and I wasn't. This is the thing. At first, I was like, I'm not an apocalyptic movie lover anyway.
Oh, I love those.
But I have to say, I'm getting kind of Independence Day curious.
It was well done because I was not interested in it at all until I saw the trailer.
Because you see some smarts about how they've explained the 20 years that have passed. Yeah. And with that because I kind of want to know how this connects.
Because that's the thing. It's not at the end of that, it's not over.
No.
There's more of them out there.
There's more of them out there.
We have to rebuild our world.
And the world has been cracked a new one. And we've got to rebuild basically, you take something like, it's basically a world war. I mean, it's much, much more than anything like a 9/11. I mean, it's like that every city has been basically, destroyed.
I think they said there were 20 different ships.
Yeah.
So 20 major cities around the world.
Yeah.
Were taken out.
And whatever, fires and things that causes. Yeah. And hopefully that whatever they did, whatever phaser beam they used didn't have radiation and poisons, attached to it.
Well, Houston's going to be a dead zone.
Oh boy.
Because we set off our own nuclear weapon
that's
there.
true. Yeah. Firmware update. First time I ever saw that. Yeah. On the screen on that military vehicle. But
Will Smith's character, Stephen Hiller, doesn't make it. He couldn't be in the film because he was doing Suicide Squad.
Correct.
But so they wrote his character as having died like a war hero.
Oh wow.
He was testing the first alien hybrid
I did read
jet.
That. Yes.
And that was released on the viral site that they've put up.
Okay.
And Will Smith actually said that it was terrible when he found out his character from Independence Day had died. It was, let's see here, it was revealed that he died testing the first alien hybrid fighter, and he was lauded as the hero of the war of 1996. Is what they call it.
The War of 1996.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's actually they're using actual time of 96 is when it came out. That's when it happened, and now it's 20 years later. So it's going to be interesting. I'm interested now.
I am, and I really kind of want to know what the president's character is going to be doing because he's been out of office for 20 years.
Yeah, he looks all grizzled.
He did, and I was like, okay, so is he kind of the UN director of alien defense, or is he is basically just living in a shack somewhere because he's been discredited? Or
I don't know what he's doing, but Goldblum's character is the head of the Earth Defense.
Oh, that's
Force,
right. Okay, yes,
or something like that. I don't know.
Heck of a promotion from being a satellite technician from a cable
I don't know
company.
what he figured out the virus that the aliens were taking down.
He got a Mac to do it too. I just want to point that out.
That's right. So, I'm not quite sure what the president is doing now, but I'd still vote for him again after that speech. So. Now back to Star Wars.
Oh, cool.
Timeline has been released for the upcoming Star Wars movies. Of course, we know Rogue One will be out next December 16th, 2016. Okay. That'll be Rogue One. Then Star Wars Episode 8 will be out in May of 2017. So that'll be a little early. We won't have to wait a full year.
That's cool.
We'll get that in May of 2017. Then the really interesting one, I think, is the Star Wars anthology Han Solo. We'll get that on May 25th of 2018.
Are they recasting Han Solo?
It's a growing up.
Oh, so
it'll be a young Han Solo.
So it's like young Indiana Jones kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And basically every young actor in Hollywood is beating each other with a stick to get that
absolutely.
role. So
probably 10,000 10-year-olds and whatever.
Then Star Wars Episode 9 will be in 2019. Then the Star Wars anthology Boba Fett movie will be in 2020.
So we're pretty much full of Star Wars for the next
that's
5
what they had originally
years.
announced was every other year we would get a new episode movie.
Okay.
And then on the opposite years,
You get an anthology.
we get an
or
anthology.
So it's sort of like the movies are doing their own version of an expanded universe.
Yes,
That's cool.
we'll have a Star Wars movie every year.
Questions that I heard on the internet from a show I watched had some interesting questions, and this is the Collider people, so I'll give them credit. But one of the things that I wondered, and when they pointed this out, is, okay, will these extra movies have a crawl?
That's a good question.
Will they have the crawl with the
I
episode?
would say no.
I'd
say no. I mean, because it's an anthology movie, it's not an episode.
It's correct.
It's not a chapter.
Yes.
So I would say no. I would go away from that.
I wonder if they'll use something similar from or another trope from the 30s, serials that they could, because that is such a part of Star Wars. The whole, and even some home video shows because since 20th Century Fox is no longer, you don't have the fanfare anymore. If you get the new versions that Disney have put out,
You just get the
they
Lucasfilm.
just have Lucasfilm logo, but Lucasfilm has a similar sounding fanfare. Not on the theatrical version of Force Awakens, but I did notice it on some of the digital ones I've got. It's got something that kind of brings up that motif. It goes quiet, black, blue, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, black, bang, yellow, Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering what it's going to open like, because that's such a Star Wars
interesting
thing.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't think they're nailed down to it. They don't have to do that.
And I think, what? We've got examples like the Clone Wars and Rebels, and they kind of play off the motif. So, we can live with it.
But also one of the rumors that we were talking about last week about the identity of Supreme Leader Snoke. Andy Serkis, I guess he listened to the show and he heard us talking about the possibility of Snoke being Darth Plagueis. And he came out and said that Supreme Leader Snoke is not Darth Plagueis. It is a completely new character.
Well, there you go. That is surprising.
I still think that the reveal of who it is might be a shocker.
Yeah.
Well,
I kind
of. Or it might not. You never know.
I mean, in the sense that you've got a universe where there's allegedly only 2 of the bad guys running around.
Well, but he's not a Sith.
So that's the thing.
He's never been called a Sith.
We're now introducing other characters who are Dark Force users who aren't Sith, and that's something that's a little different, because you always think in terms of the balance, no pun intended, between Darth or between Sith and Jedi.
Yeah.
And in what we have now, we're going to have literally an expanded character pantheon where you have more characters who are possibly even light force users, light side force users who not necessarily are Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you got the distinct impression that the old lady at the bar, Maz?
Maz, yeah. Cortana, I think. Yeah.
You got the distinct impression that she was a Force user.
Yes, but she wasn't a Jedi.
She wasn't a Jedi.
But she was Force aware, definitely Force aware. Yeah. So we're going to see more of that come out, and that's going to be interesting, because essentially you look at the Force as something that really doesn't care about Jedi or Sith by name. It's just an energy that can be used depending on how the sentient being decides to use it. It's a power. And if you use it for bad, then it's a bad power. You use it for good, it's a good power. So it doesn't necessarily have to have, it's almost like different denominations, if you will.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see who he is, or if it's a completely completely new character or what he is. Because like we said, it's not the Sith. So, the Knights of Ren are a new group
Yes.
that Kylo Ren is part of.
Is there any expanded universe comics or anything about those guys yet? Because I know
Not
that
yet, no.
that's another name that people glommed onto in the fan world, kind of like Phasma. And they're trying to figure out, you're trying to basically put meat on the bones to find out what it's about. And right now, it's just a really cool name.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what it is and what it represents. And so the one thing I did hear is that Snoke is not as large as the holo projection,
I assume he's not,
but he is bigger than a regular person.
Oh, okay.
He might even be a little bigger than a Wookiee. So
wow.
that will be something to see.
That's pretty cool.
And his face does look a little
Jacked
jacked up.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
been in a
Andy
car
Serkis-
wreck or two.
Andy Serkis did say that he was a damaged creature.
Yeah.
I think he meant physically and emotionally.
I could tell you he's got some hate issues going on.
He's got issues, yeah. But from the Alien camp, Alien the movie, Alien Covenant,
That's scary.
which is the Prometheus sequel, will be set 10 years after Prometheus, which will mean it will be 18 years before the events of the first Alien movie.
Okay.
So we're coming together there. And there's an Alien sequel with Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, and Higgs.
Okay.
The Marine, the Space Marine.
Okay.
That is in works, but it's being held back.
Is that the Nukem from Orbit Marine, or is that another?
No,
Marine?
he's dead.
Okay. I love that guy. That was
guy,
Bill Paxton. I love that.
Yeah, that was Bill Paxton. Yeah, the Higgs was the guy who's in charge.
Okay.
The strong leading man
I know
kind of Marine. So, yeah.
Alien scares me. I mean, those are horror movies. Well, the Aliens was kind of the action horror.
Yeah,
but,
Alien was a horror movie.
oh, man. And okay, I was like 13 when that came out. The trailers on TV
Scared
should have
the
been
crap
rated
out of
R.
me.
Because you had that weird kind of
In space,
no
one
sound,
can hear you scream.
and I believed it, and I was like, I want no part of this.
Awesome, I love that. I love it.
But as an older teenager, I did love
awesome,
the chest bursty fun of it.
Oh
so.
yeah. So, but that will be coming. I never actually did see Prometheus. I need to go back and watch that.
It has not gotten a lot of good reception. So what I seriously. I wouldn't spend 50 cents on it, but if it's in your queue and it's
maybe on Netflix, I'd have to look.
You go ahead and find it there.
Yeah. So, but from the world of Supergirl, as you call her, Soup G.
Soup G. Yep.
So in an upcoming episode of Soup G called "Strange Visitor from Another Planet," which is a callback to the old TV show that always said that, and actually to the radio show before that, we will see another Martian, a white Martian, which is the race that wiped out John Jones' people. And then made him.
Now, in the comic art, do they kind of look like the John Jones kind of face, but with pale?
Yeah, there's a little difference of the makeup of the body.
Okay.
But yeah, it is more pale. And at the end of this week's episode, we got what may be our first look at Bizarro.
That's true.
The girl that Maxwell Lord has in lab number 52.
Yes.
Which is another 52 reference.
Yes. The new 52.
Yes.
Did you get it? Come on. Did you get it?
It's just like Channel 52.
Yes.
It's constantly on. But we saw a young girl who looks similar to Kara. Pale skin, like flaky kind of skin, and black eyes. So it very well may be our first look at Bizarro. And it kind of leads into the comics, because in the comics, Lex Luthor originally created Bizarro.
Okay.
So it may very well be. I was kind of hoping that it was the current version of Bizarro in the comics is almost like a dim-witted kind of Frankenstein thing. He just didn't know his own strength, and he was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was.
I didn't mean to do
yeah,
that.
he was really not evil-minded.
Yeah.
Just a bull in a china shop kind of. Like he didn't realize his own strength, and
Did they ever do a Bizarro collective where you have the Bizarro Superman and the Bizarro Supergirl and other people?
I think it probably in pre-crisis they probably did it.
Okay.
Point. But because there was
That'd been
talk in pre-crisis, there was talk of Bizarro World,
Okay.
like, where everything was backwards, and there was a version of everybody. There was a Bizarro Lois Lane, I think, as well.
Oh wow.
But that's the thing. Pre-crisis,
she never had any Pulitzer prizes.
that's
but,
right.
you know.
Pre-crisis, there was so much wacky crap went on.
Yeah.
It was nuts. So, but we will get to see. I hope that kind of turns out to be Bizarro. But I'm interested to see a little more from John Jones. I'm enjoying him now.
Yes. I mean, really, hasn't that just made his character matter? And
Yep.
it just and you can tell it's given the actor, who's a fine actor who needs to be in a couple of Bond movies if he hadn't already.
Yeah.
It's given him some meat to kind of
Something he can sink his teeth into.
But and we discussed this about the last episode about the thing with and what's our policy on spoilers here?
We don't do them.
We don't do spoilers.
I've been chastised by Mike enough times that
Okay,
I try not to do
so
that.
I won't do a spoiler, but I just will say there's a revelation about a certain character that is turned around very quickly, and I was kind of unhappy about the prospects that I'd imagined in my head happening.
Yeah.
So if anyone's watched last Tuesday or Monday's Supergirl, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, but if you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. You'll probably enjoy it. It's a good episode otherwise.
They used a well-trodden superhero trope.
Yes.
Which where I saw it coming, it completely fooled my wife and my daughter.
Yeah.
They were like, "What's going on?" And I went, "Anybody know a shapeshifter?" So it was. I mean, But to me, I think it was great because it was a nod to the comics because they did that all the time in the comics,
all
and
the
it
time.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll leave that there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Okay. From Star Trek Beyond, and I don't even know how this was a thing, but William Shatner will not be reprising his role as Captain Kirk in Star Trek Beyond. I don't know how they could have done it anyway.
I heard that had already been cast by a guy named Chris Pine or something.
I think
anyway,
what it was originally they had talked about him reprising his role as Kirk the same way Nimoy
and maybe
was doing
serving
his.
the same role as what Spock.
But the problem is he died 20 years ago. He now looks 20 years older.
Yeah.
How are they going to explain that?
Correct.
I don't think it could have ever worked.
No.
But of course, I mean, would love it. It would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's one of the things that at this point, it's almost like they kept trying to, between him and Nimoy, kept trying to do some sort of a parody between what they were able to do within Star Trek.
Yeah.
One directs a movie, then the other directs a movie, and sadly, it was Star Trek V, but we won't go there. But now I'm thinking it's time to just let the kids have the playground and see what they do.
I mean, it made sense including Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah.
Because he's a Vulcan.
Yeah.
So he could look that way and it be set, him from 200 years or whatever, and he'd come back.
Your thoughts on the rock and roll trailer for Beyond with the Beastie Boys music? I mean,
I didn't mind the music. I mean,
I get it because they're trying to make Star Trek not like a, Shakespearean play in space. They're trying to get away from that. What I'm assuming they feel is a nerdy, kind of like how Iron Man made fun of the Asgardians in the first Avengers. Is that the dyed drapes? They don't want it to look like that, which, I think you leave that model of Star Trek for television where I think that served better anyway, and you make the Funhouse e-ticket rides for the movies, and I think that's fine.
Unfortunately, it looked a little too much like
it went over the line a bit.
It looked a little too much like it was directed by the guy who directed Fast and the Furious. Oh wait, it was.
Yes.
And I think that was the unfortunate thing. I didn't mind the music. It just made it kind of peppy, and it's the first trailer.
Yeah,
that's not the movie.
That's good thing to remember. The first trailer, even the last trailer isn't the movie.
Yeah. So I'll wait on the movie. Now it's no secret on the Ninja Troll that I was not a fan of majority of Star Trek Into Darkness.
You didn't like the Super Blood?
It
Come
was-
on. It can do anything.
Don't get me started. So I am and Star Trek is very close to my heart. I absolutely
Yes.
I have loved it from the original series the first time I saw it. And I want it to be good.
Oh, absolutely.
I
yes.
want it to be great. So it's not that I'm just crapping on it because
Oh, I get
just
you.
to,
Absolutely.
to be fun to
It's-
crap on.
And it's one of the things that, and this is kind of, I think what you said before on the Ninja Troll, and to me personally, is that certain things are better as TV shows and certain things are better as movies. And
Star Trek is better lent to a episodic version.
Yes, and I'm looking at this version of Star Trek as the kind of action movie that you do in this period of time. This is the kind of movie you do. This is sort of like the Avengers.
It had a lot of blahs in it.
Yes, and lots of lens flares.
Blah. Every trailer does that now.
But the thing too is that, you know, if you look back at the best of television Star Trek, they're not action scenes.
Nope.
They're actor scenes. They're
And they
writing scenes.
yeah.
And
But you
and it's
can-
therefore
I
lights.
feel
It's
like-
those things.
I feel like you can do that in the movies
you can,
without.
but I
I
guarantee
mean, you can still have an action-packed, good, thought-provoking
Yes.
science fiction movie.
Yes.
You can
And-
do that.
And you can, and you're absolutely right. What they're afraid of in Hollywood, and this is me guessing, but I think what it is they're looking at having to have the international market. We're talking China here. Let's just go ahead and say it. To fund these movies now, really and truly, and also to really make up the money that costs, because it takes over $200 million to shoot one of these now. It's crazy. So you're having to make $500 million to really cut a profit, because that's not including the advertising and prints budget, which the prints aren't as much anymore because it's digital, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
But you also have marketing and other ways to pull in cash, except not just box office.
yes, and one of the things that I think the money people who run Hollywood, I think it's pretty much they've got it to where they want their franchises to basically, you know, do a very narrow sort of hero journey kind of story, which is what we have, and they work, and they especially work because you can dub them and it doesn't lose anything. It's not, you're not trying, it's not, you know what I'm saying, it's not some kind of very finely acted moment that really needs to be in the native language. So perhaps that's why we're faced with movies that all kind of seem the same. I'm thinking we're not just at, you know, the joke around the internet is that we're at peak comic. I think we might even be at peak action. Because if you look at Fast and the Furious 7, which to me was a great movie if you like that kind of silly cartoon movie, and I do, you know, I don't see how – I mean, you have cars skydiving, and I'm just loving it. I'm sorry.
it's like, this is
it's as
ludicrous,
silly
but
it's as silly as Arnold Schwarzenegger throwing blades at people's heads back in Commando, okay?
Yeah.
And then that kind of headspace – and you know me, I like some intellectual stuff – but I just absolutely love that.
It's like
but I don't think you can do anything more. I
the
mean,
entire
in space,
the entire run of the Expendables movies.
Yes,
Just check your
brain at the door.
Shake your brain at the door and
Yes.
watch stuff explode.
Yeah, it exploded. I love it. It's
So
awesome.
So I mean, but I don't want Star Trek to be that way.
And I understand
So-
that. And there is a new series coming. I heard that on
True.
the Ninja Troll
You did,
Digicast.
yes. So I'm waiting on that as well. I'll pay to see that one too.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but Daredevil season 2 put out the new trailer today. No new footage, which I was a little upset about.
Yes.
But it did have a really cool effect too. It was showing different scenes with voiceover from season 1. It showed different scenes painted as a mural in a Catholic church. And as it backed out to where you see essentially the entire first season laid out in mural form, as you back out, you see that the Punisher's skull is framing all of it.
Oh, that's just so cool.
And you get voiceover of Matt Murdock talking to the priest about If he's doing the right thing, why does he feel so guilty?
Yes.
And Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock / Daredevil, has said that he and the Punisher have a complicated relationship.
It's complicated.
I think it's really going to be complicated because they want the same thing. They have different ways of going about it.
Yes.
One does not have a problem killing and shooting people.
Yes.
And one does.
and these kind of problems can cause all sorts of manner of drama. Just look at world history. Anyway.
So
or the X-Men universe.
Yeah, exactly. I simply cannot wait for season 2 to come out. It will actually debut March 18th. We got that information from the trailer as well. So March 18th.
And it did look very cinematic, just in its,
absolutely.
And just in the way it was put together, and the audio mix and everything.
So that will be March 18th. It will premiere. And we got a new teaser trailer for the second half of The Walking Dead's 6th season. It heavily mentions Negan.
Cool.
So it looks like we may get him before the season finale. I figured that they would keep teasing it up until him showing up in the season finale.
Okay.
But I think we're going to get that before. And Scott Gimple, who is the executive producer, says that Negan will be brought to life right out of the comic books. I still want to know how they're going to do that because every other word out of Negan's mouth in the comic books is the F word.
Well,
so that's going to be interesting how they do that.
Yeah.
But and Negan's first appearance in the comics, he kills Glenn. So if you're a fan of Glenn, which many people are, you might want to get prepared for this.
I have brushstroke knowledge of The Walking Dead.
I know you don't watch, but Glenn is one of the characters that is fairly popular.
Yes.
And he actually
and speak of a show that kills people off. I mean.
And he had a time earlier this season where everybody thought he was dead, and he ended up not being dead.
Okay.
So he may have escaped death just in time to be. There will be no question if it happens the way it did in the comic books. Negan beat him to death with a barbed wire wrapped baseball bat that he calls Lucille.
Oh boy!
And he did it in front of Rick and Maggie, who is Glenn's wife.
Not for the kiddies.
Just to send a message.
Oh, boy.
And actually in the Walking Dead 149, which just came out, the comic, Negan is now captured and in jail in Alexandria where they live.
Okay.
And Rick is having problems with another group that they've run into called the Whisperers. They actually wear the zombie skins. Almost, not quite, but almost to...
Does that make them immune to being tracked by zombies?
Yes, because the smell doesn't... the smell of...
rotting flesh
covers the smell of a human,
yeah.
Which is what they zoom onto. But they've almost turned it into kind of a religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
But where the leader is called Alpha.
Oh, boy.
And they're having issues with that group. And he's talking to Negan because he needs advice.
So we're at warlordism now, essentially.
Basically,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Negan when he's down in the jail talking to him, he makes a joke. He basically tells Rick, "Listen, you're a leader. You know what you need to do. Sometimes you got to beat a Asian boy's head in with a baseball bat." Oh, too soon? I mean, I know you haven't watched the show, but
that's Quentin Tarantino kind of lines right there.
The governor was the big bad for a couple seasons.
Okay.
He was the big, huge, bad dude that was the biggest threat that had ever been on the show.
Okay.
Negan makes him look like your Aunt Shirley.
And was that character a zombie or a human?
No, he was a human.
Oh wow! So the worst character was a human.
Worst characters are humans.
Oh wow!
The zombies are just something you have to deal with, and that's what I tell everybody. It's like, okay,
gotcha.
This isn't necessarily about zombies.
It's about how we deal with the problem as humanity.
It's about what you will do if you're pushed back into a corner, and what people are forced to do.
Yeah. And
whether they can, because if you think about it at this point, if you've survived this long, you've done some nasty stuff.
Yeah. there's people you've stepped over to get to the survival point that you're.
And it's all a matter of what you're willing to do,
Yeah.
and what you're willing not to do.
Yeah.
It's incredibly well written. Robert Kirkman, I just take my hat off to him because he is an incredible writer.
I'm gonna have to check it. What season is it in now? Is it 6?
6.
6. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Is it one of those that has 12 a season, or is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. This
So
is
it's
the
not
thing.
that bad to catch
it's,
up.
It's the Breaking Bad thing. It's the Battlestar Galactica, second go thing, where you have to basically commit to marrying a television show if you're going to watch it, because it's not something like NCIS where you can dip in and watch one and then watch one 5 years later and it's the same show.
No, it's a serial.
It's definitely a serial.
It leads one to the other.
Yeah. So that is a commitment that
I would say go back and watch the first one.
Okay.
And it's on Netflix, so you can do that.
Cool.
Go back and watch the first one.
Okay.
And make your decision from there.
Okay.
Because it is an emotional thing.
Yeah.
It's really an emotional thing.
And I hate to admit this, don't tell anyone. Anyone.
Good thing we're not recording.
We're not recording this at all. What are you talking about? We're just having a conversation. Where's the pizza? I haven't finished the last season of Breaking Bad yet.
Wow.
I just haven't, because it's going to be over when I finish it.
It's the commercial that they're showing, the show hole.
Yeah,
you want
exactly.
to avoid the show hole.
I want to avoid that because my thing is that it's still in the bank. It's still in my pop culture bank. It's ready to go if I ever need it.
Now I've watched it, and I could go back and watch it again.
Yeah,
but it's like you were saying, it's an episodic thing. I would have to start at the beginning.
Yes.
And watch all the way through. It would be difficult to just drop in.
Even knowing it would be difficult because you miss the
you want to be in a certain.
It puts you in a certain emotional state at a certain point in the episode's run, and you want to be there. And by the way, I have to say that Breaking Bad is one of the best television experiences I've ever had. I mean, so there you go.
Yeah, I think. Walking Dead is just as well written.
That's cool.
It is just as well put together and produced. And there's a lot of times that they alternate. They have a really crazy intense episode, and then they go to almost a palate cleanser. Like the next episode is very low key and it's very calm and very emotionally and character driven.
And I remember a couple of weeks ago you and Mike having that conversation run. And I wanted to say it's like the family episode of TNG after Best of Both Worlds two-parter. Yep. And the sad thing is that palate cleanser called Family on TNG, Star Trek The Next Generation for anyone who's new to this, really was according to one of the producers in some special feature I saw, was one of the lowest rated episodes because it didn't. And that's sad because it was so good.
These palate cleanser episodes get crapped on the internet all the time because
nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened because you have to breathe at some point. And you also have to make these characters into a real 3-dimensional living, breathing person, or else you don't give a crap about them.
Exactly. And see, that almost plays back into what I was talking about. The current action movies is maybe the money people are just afraid that the money won't be dropping at the box office if they have any. You know how tune-out factor fear is in creative stuff.
Yeah.
And so at least we do have episodic television to hit these notes that if you really think about it, you almost have to go back to 70s cinema to really see,
them put in time.
I mean, French Connection, Bullet. I mean, you look at those movies, and those were action movies back then, but they also were dramas.
Yeah.
And you look at them now, and they almost seem slow, which is sad because, we're such in a fast forward kind of edited habit in watching things.
Yeah.
That good movies might get ran over. But anyway,
and in situations like Walking Dead. The reason that so many people are worried about Glenn and worried that he's going to be killed off is because they put in the time to make him a character that everybody cares about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that that they don't see that you have to do.
Absolutely.
So I would suggest, like I said, go back and watch just the first episode of Walking Dead and you make because it's a zombie movie or series. So there's a certain amount of gore. And
that doesn't really bother me. It's just
sometimes it's worse than others because they take a great Greg Nicotero is the effects guy for this, but he's also like one of the showrunners.
Okay.
And he directs episodes all the time. And he is a classic George Romero zombie movie fan.
Oh,
so
cool.
there's times that he's like, all right, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
And
do they ever do CGI where they have missing things
Yes.
where they put the green on
they're
and then
mixed-
they take away things?
They're a mixture. The zombies are a mixture of practical and CGI,
That's
leaning
cool.
towards practical.
And that's good. That's a good mix because you want something that's a little different than just makeup.
Yeah.
But you don't want to overdo it and have them look like video game characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But it's very well done, and and for me, it's more of the emotional content that it has that sells it for me. So, but also Xander Berkeley was cast on the show, but they didn't really say who he was. It's been revealed that he will be Gregory, who in the comics was the Weasley leader of the Hilltop in Weasley. But that's the part I put in,
Okay.
because I know the guy. He's just a smarmy little Weasley.
He's been smarmy since he played the foster dad in Terminator 2.
Yeah, but Gregory is the leader of the Hilltop community.
Yes.
Or Hilltop colony in the comics, and he's just a sleazy little thing. And also Tom Paine has been cast as Paul Jesus Monroe.
So it's not Jesus.
No, it's Jesus.
Jesus.
Because he looks like Jesus.
Okay.
That's the reason he's called that. So that shows that the larger world storyline will play out soon in the show.
Okay.
Because you've got Negan, you've got the Hilltop colony.
Is the comic still in run? Is it
Yes.
still? Oh, so
Yeah,
the
it's getting
comics
ready. Next month it hits 150. Actually,
wow.
maybe not next month. It might be out soon.
So it's still
And
it's still
150s.
laying track that this TV show could mine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really. Or go down a mixed metaphor, but you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely, yeah. So, it's still around and it's still going strong. So, it's got a lot. It's got a lot that it can mine from. So, but Disney chairman Robert Iger has confirmed that there will be a new Indiana Jones movie. It has been rumored that it was going to happen, but this confirms it. But they are not recasting. It's not a reboot. They're not going to recast Indy. I think it's going to be a torch pass along. He'll be in it as Indiana Jones, but then there'll be a younger. They tried that with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
but nobody likes him.
Yeah, why would we? I mean, so this is that was mean for me to say.
Not really.
I personally don't care for
He's an
the
idiot.
movies that he's in. He might be a great guy. I don't know.
Care.
But,
I'll say it. He's an idiot.
But what I don't know that we need another indie movie.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
know.
because I went and this is I have to admit something very quickly. I have the Blu-ray box set of all 4 indie movies, and the first movie I watched was the 4th one, and I found it not as good as the ones my favorite is 1 and 3. I hate 2. I don't watch 2.
See, I don't mind 2.
Because 2's got bugs. I don't care for bugs.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the bugs, but I just the guy going, soon Kalema will rule the world. I like that guy. He's
I
awesome.
remember that.
He's so over the top. I
Yes.
just love that.
But between 1 and 3, and then you've got 4, and they tried to update it with the motifs of the 50s. I didn't have a problem with that, nor did I have a problem with the fridge and the nuke, because this is a fantasy movie.
Yeah,
it's supposedly, I mean, I have no belief in the real world physics of someone getting into a raft that's inflating and landing in a rapids. I don't think you're going to survive that. So I'm okay with that. My basic takeaway is I'm thinking that there's a lot of rose color going on when we think about these movies than when we come up as adults and look at, or at least older people.
The nostalgia goggles are definitely in place.
The nostalgia goggles are covering a lot of sins. And now I will say this, the movie wasn't great. And it had way too much. The fourth one,
steaming pile.
Well, it had way too much CGI for one thing. I don't mind the aliens, and I didn't mind the 50s, and I didn't mind the nuclear thing. What the problem is you tried to sell us Shia LaBeouf, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You should have found somebody that we never heard of to put in that role, and it would have made a star out of somebody.
Yeah.
And just enough with with the CGI. Pardon me,
Yeah.
because it just isn't going to work.
That was part of the problem. Is like this is a movie series that's been built on practical effects and been built on the gritty realism that you get. And the first scene looked like it was on a backlot.
Yes, it did.
It was so well lit and footlights almost.
Yes.
That for me right there, it broke the whole thing.
Yes.
And it makes it bad to say. I didn't want to, but yeah, that right there just did not look. It looked wrong.
It looked almost like bad television.
Yeah, it looked really wrong. And then the CGI car chase with the monkeys fighting them. It was like,
Again,
this is horrible. So
yeah. And you wonder, again, I think that the Lucas Spielberg can't, and I guess the artist cannot be the fans. You just can't.
Yeah.
So in every art fan relationship, there's a difference between what one gets from creating and what one gets from consuming or appreciating. But really and truly, they have no idea why we loved the original movies.
Yeah.
And because Harrison Ford wasn't the problem. Harrison Ford's fine. And he didn't phone it in. I found him fine. And I went back and looked at it, and when he was arguing with the government guys after the fridge thing, that's Han Solo.
The story of him that he gives them that they I wanted to know more about that more than I did the rest of this crappy movie.
You're absolutely right, because
that
would have been a better story. Maybe that's what we'll get.
Maybe, I don't know.
But hopefully Disney will figure this out. Disney is a corporation who's dedicated in maintaining intellectual property
to getting our money.
To get our money. But this is the thing. I think they get it. Now, maybe it's all formulas and supercomputers that tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
But under Iger, I do believe Disney is a good home for Marvel, and it's a good home for Star Wars. And the only arguable thing is that maybe they went a little too far with the ribald humor with the Muppets in this new TV show, because there's been complaints. I haven't seen it. There's been complaints, but people need to realize that's the original intent Jim Henson had.
Jim Henson wanted it to be adult entertainment. So and I like the new Muppet Show. It's fun. So for me,
what age group? Now you're a dad. What age group do you think would be appropriate to watch that? Because I was watching the Muppets when I was about 8 to 12, something like that.
Yeah, I would say it's probably about Emma's level, like 13.
Okay.
My daughter's 13, so yeah, it's probably about, and maybe almost a little bit above, because there's certain, it's not situations that I wouldn't want her to know about. It's like I just don't think she'd be interested in.
I got you. Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. It's a little bit of a more of a mid-teen kind of thing that would, like maybe almost college age kids would be there. So, that was, like you said, that was the original intent. For Henson was that basically that age, like a college age, almost like a Beavis and Butthead kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're moving on from Indiana Jones and the Muppets and all that. So, Valiant Entertainment has, we've talked about it a couple times on here. They have signed a deal to start their own movie franchise.
Oh, okay.
To where they're taking their intellectual property, and they're starting off with my favorite thing from Valiant Entertainment is Bloodshot.
Oh, okay.
There will be a Bloodshot movie, and then after that there will be Harbinger, which Harbinger is their team, like a super team. But the CEO, Dinesh Shamdazani. Yeah, exactly. He was talking about the upcoming slate of Valiant movies in a recent interview, and said that the Bloodshot movie has more in common with Terminator and RoboCop than it does with Iron Man or Man of Steel.
Oh, cool.
So, if you know the Bloodshot character, it kind of needs to, because he is from a secret government project that used nanites in a guy to essentially give him superpowers.
So there's a little bit of
it's like the Punisher,
Wolverine
but with
in him too,
exactly.
Yeah,
yes. And he in the comics right now. Last year they had a big crossover to where a character that had she was called the Geomancer, and she had powers over nature.
Okay.
She actually, as she was dying, as her last gift to him, she pulled the nanites out of him.
Oh.
Which, sets him free. He's now free to live his life however he would want to live it. Unfortunately, he was almost hooked on them. So right now, the series that's going on now is called Bloodshot Reborn, to where he ends up a raging alcoholic, having visions of both the Geomancer and a cartoon Bloodshot that called himself Bloodsquirt.
Oh, boy.
So he's basically losing his mind.
Yeah.
And he keeps drinking to try and forget that he's missing the nanites now.
Okay.
And then he finds out, okay, the nanites were pulled out, but they had to go somewhere. So they get into other people, and it's driving them insane.
Okay.
And they can't control it.
So basically,
They're
to make
going on
everybody
killing
right,
sprees.
To make everything right, he has to get the
take
nanites
them
back.
Yeah, and he convinces himself, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
So he goes around and he finds them and pulls
It's
them back
just
in.
medicine. Leave me alone.
Exactly, yeah. So
I need this.
He convinces himself
It's
that
vitamins.
he has to. So, but it's very well done. It's like I said, Bloodshot's always been one of my favorite Valiant properties. But they're going to be, like I said, Harbinger will be after Bloodshot, and eventually they'll have a crossover for the two called Harbinger Wars.
Okay.
So that's coming later. So, but that's going to wrap up our movie and TV news.
Okay.
We're getting ready to take a break, and when we come back, we'll take a spin of the comic rack.
Our hailing frequencies are always open. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just search Ninja Troll Digicast, or drop us an email at ninjatroll@digitaltuxedo.com.
Hi, I'm Louis Black, and I'm a big supporter of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and its mission to cure CF. People ask me, Louis, what's your personal connection to CF anyway? Well, I don't have one. I'm just passionate about finding a cure. The CF Foundation has made amazing progress. People are living longer, healthier lives today because of innovative new treatments made possible through the foundation. But that's not enough. We need a cure, and we need it yesterday. The progress we have made is a direct result of the dedication and donations of folks like you and me. There's still more that needs to be done. Oh, no. I knew it. He wants our money. Well, yeah. I feel like an idiot for asking, but aren't you just going to throw some of it away each week on something stupid? So why not throw some of it our way? You'll feel better about yourself, and I won't have to come to your home and yell at you. Support the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and help make CF stand for Cure Found.
Meanwhile, back at the Cathedral of Wisdom, it's time for the comic rack. Hey, nice rack.
Knock it off, perv.
No, it's the latest news from the enormous world of comics. Right here on the Ninja Troll Digicast.
All right, here we go with the comic rack. This week, first thing, news just came out today about a new digital first series from DC called Arrow the Dark Archer. It will be written by John Barrowman and his sister Carol. John Barrowman is the guy who plays Malcolm Merlyn on Arrow, and this series will be about Merlyn in between season 3 and 4 and flashback to his history to show you like where he came up, how he made his money.
Oh, cool.
So you get a bit of background information on Malcolm Merlyn and where he came from, and what happened after he became Ra's al Ghul at the end of season 3.
Now that's interesting.
Exactly. I want to see because he became Ra's al Ghul, and then the next we saw him, he was firmly entrenched in there.
Yes.
So I'd like to see what's been going on. So that will be interesting to see that, and it's
Monks of Exposition. That's what I call them. Yes.
Yeah. That's what they were for the crossover episode. He just showed up when a question needed to be answered.
Time to tell you something. Yeah.
Now I'm out of here. He just kind of
kind
float out of the
in
room.
the lights, out of the lights.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I didn't realize he was a writer, but apparently he and his sister have written several books.
Oh, that's cool.
But
I know him from his Doctor Who past, but I didn't know he was a writer.
Yeah, apparently they've written several books together, but this is their first work for DC Comics. So that'll be interesting to read that. And I like their I haven't read the Arrow series that is based. It's in the same world. It's called. I think it was called season 2.5 or 3.5.
Okay.
That was in between. No, it would have been 2.5 is where they started. And then there was a Flash season 0 series that they did that was in the same world, but not necessarily about the things that were going on in the in the TV show. So I'll be interested. I was looking forward to that. And DC Comics is getting blasted on social media because that's what happens on social media.
Yes.
But they incorrectly listed a character speaking Pakistani.
Uh-oh.
It was in I think it was a Superman Wonder Woman, and the old contention in comics is if someone is speaking in a foreign language, they put it in brackets, and then it's down at the bottom. It has like a little asterisk, and down at the bottom
It says what language.
translated from French or whatever.
Pashtun or whatever.
Yeah, but down at the bottom,
Probably isn't a language.
It said translated from Pakistani,
Uh-oh.
which is not a language.
Not a language.
Pakistani is not a language.
Yeah.
It's the languages of Pakistan is English and Urdu.
Okay.
Google search.
Yeah. That's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
But somebody noticed it, tweeted it, and said, "This is why Marvel is kicking DC's butt because they
Yes.
think we speak Pakistani." So
And the suffix at the end is what makes it even funnier.
exactly, yeah, it doesn't even make sense as a word.
No, Pakistan.
And most probably, it was put in there as a placeholder
Yes.
until they knew what it should be translated
Yeah.
from, and nobody
And the
went back.
post-it note fell off of it, and
Nobody went back and checked
Yes.
to see what it should be changed to.
Oops.
And so,
I will say this though, I think the internet social media culture gets just a little too worked up.
oh
over
yeah,
things like
absolutely,
this.
yeah.
Because it's an honest mistake. I'm sure they're sorry they did it. They'll probably run an apology if they haven't already on their own Twitter account. Ran an apology.
Yeah, they have.
But everyone just gets so offended over, and not that you shouldn't feel a little put back, I guess, but I guess social media just makes it such a global instant firestorm.
Yeah, they take it as an affront to them, where it's more of a stupid mistake
Yes.
than it is an affront to anyone.
Yes. And, of course, someone should have caught it, and no one did.
Yeah.
And that's
the real issue.
At the end of the day, it's the editor. It's on the editor, because that's allegedly every stroke of a pen goes past the editor on those. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so just somebody should have caught it. But there they are with egg on their face.
Yes.
And it came out yesterday. I haven't read it yet, but it came out yesterday. Spider-Man Deadpool #1.
Oh, boy.
That should be nothing but fun.
Oh, absolutely.
It brings you the Webbed Wonder and the Merc with a Mouth in their first ongoing series ever. It's action adventure and just a smattering of romance in this episodic epic.
So is it anyway?
I don't know. Like I said,
it's not Spider-Man and no.
no, they're not a couple.
They're not a couple. Okay, no, there's anything wrong with that, but they're not a couple.
But
no.
it's combining together. It's
is this adult Spider-Man or is this teenage Spider-Man?
No, it's adult Spider-Man.
It's adult Spider-Man.
I believe. I don't know for sure where it falls, because Deadpool can kind of just be wherever.
Anywhere they need him.
Yeah,
he
they had during the Secret Wars event that they had another series called Deadpool's Secret War.
Oh, okay.
That was actually set back in the original Secret War that was in the 80s. It was set back then, so it kind of incorporated him into the story.
Okay.
Of the original Secret War, which was just silly, tongue-in-cheek the whole time. So this may be just completely out of canon.
Okay.
Completely, most probably is. So, but I'll have to pick that up and read it.
Oh, that would be good.
It should be pretty fun.
I'll probably get it on. I generally just buy digital these days, so I'll get it there.
Well, I do too. That's usually what I get. So, but in the pages of Chewbacca #5, we finally get revealed the secret of Chewie's medal from the end of A New Hope.
Oh, okay.
He actually did get a medal.
Okay.
Because in Chewbacca #5, he presents the medal to his friend Zorro. In this Chewbacca series, this young girl named Zorro gets him to help her free her family from mice from spice mines.
Oh, okay.
Their family has been forced into slavery to work in mines. That doesn't sit well with Chewbacca.
Okay.
So he goes to help. And at some point, at the end of number 5, she can't communicate. She can talk to him, but she doesn't understand what he's saying.
Okay.
So she a lot of time is just exposition. She's talking about him.
Okay.
And she says, it's a situation where we've saved the day, but nobody is ever going to know about it. It would be nice to have some type of recognition. So he gives her a medal.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was the same medal that Han and Luke had at the end of A New Hope.
Now, in A New Hope, do we see him with a medal?
No,
we
that's the thing. It's always everybody's always said,
why didn't medal?
Yeah, why didn't Chewie get a medal?
Because he's a walking carpet.
No,
that's
the real reason is because they would have to come up with some type of thing for Carrie Fisher to stand on or cut out the stairs so he could get low enough because she couldn't put it on.
Reach him, yeah.
So this was kind of the thing. He gives her that medal, and she was like, "Oh, well, I don't want to take this, but it doesn't really go with your."
See, they could have cheated it, and I'll tell you how they could have cheated it. You don't see Chewbacca in the wide shot. You see her give Luke and Han the medal, and then on the
wide shot, you see
you have that she gave it to him first.
Yeah,
and now you've got everybody with the medal. But that's me just
But basically, in the comic, Zorro says, "I guess it doesn't really go with your badass warrior thing you got going here." So that was the thing. He got a medal. He's just too badass to wear it.
Yes. There you go.
So that explains that. So that's the the ongoing question that we've always had since the end of A New Hope. But also, Mike Mignola has revealed that Hellboy in Hell, the series that he is working on right now, and will soon wrap up, will be the last Hellboy story.
Oh, wow.
Well, last Hellboy story in the continuation.
Okay.
He's dead and has gone to hell, and that's what this series is, Hellboy in Hell. He won't be doing any after that.
Okay.
The universe still continues because he's doing BPRD and the prequel Hellboy and the BPRD.
Okay.
So there is Hellboy stories, but they're prequels. The character's dead, and he's not coming back.
And he's going to be in hell forever.
And he's not coming back. Yeah.
So, but there will be more Hellboy stories of him on Earth mixing it up with humans.
Yeah.
But it's all prequels.
Hellboy and the BPRD.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, and the numbers for 2015 are out. Star Wars #1 was the biggest selling comic in 2015.
Whoa.
Secret Wars #1 was #2. Marvel had 7 out of the top 10.
Dear Lord, that is.
And the only DC title in the top 10 was Dark Knight 3: The Master Race #1.
So, do you foresee a shakeup at DC? Has it happened yet? Because I don't follow this.
They keep shaking it, and that's the problem. That's instead of just concentrating on telling good stories, they keep constantly shaking and go, "Oh, we got to do this. Oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try this."
So it's not like we worked, like you said before, we worked in television, and the network that was our affiliate, network was very, very popular, and then it wasn't popular, and then you could see them
doing that.
Just doing that kind of stuff. They would just throw anything. Now it's not so bad, but they would just throw things at the wall and hope something would stick. And you're just trying to reclaim your past glory. So it looks like here it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah, like the New 52 was the current gimmick to try and reboot everything to get that magic back.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it caused more problems. One of the biggest problems I had with the New 52 was the renumbering of the comics.
Yeah, I didn't realize they did
Action
that.
Comics, that was it was like 889.
Mm-hmm.
It got renumbered to 1.
But wait a minute. Action #1 isn't the actual real Action #1 from the 30s?
Now there's 2 Action #1. There's Action Comics Volume 1, #1 was put out in 1938.
Okay.
Then now there's Action Comics Volume 2 came out in 2001. 2011. Sorry.
Okay. So they changed it to Volume 2.
And then, that happens all the time. Like if a comic gets canceled, then later they want to start it up again.
Yeah.
It just becomes a different volume, and that happens all the time.
Okay.
But the thing was, Action Comics was going to be the first comic to reach 1,000 issues.
Yeah.
and it got renumbered.
And they totally missed out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So and people, you could probably figure, with give or take a season or two maybe, about when that would happen. You figure fans of the comic book were going, hey, wait a minute, whenever it would be, 2017 or whenever it would have been.
yeah.
And then now that's not going to happen. I'm surprised. I mean, that because obviously in the cinematic universe, Marvel is really winning, but I didn't realize that it was that in comics too. Because I don't follow the business end of comics, but I do. When I buy comics, I generally buy Marvel. When I buy the digital stuff, I tried a Wonder Woman series, and it just seemed like a Greek soap opera. It was weird. I mean, and not Greek soap opera, but a Grecian god soap opera.
Yeah.
And it was just, all these, gods running around and nothing was funny. Not that I wanted to be ha ha he he, but it was just so ponderous, Yeah. And I bought that one issue and I went, okay, I'm not going to read this anymore. And I was looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The final issue of Volume 1 was 904.
Okay.
So then it would be 96 issues. So when this current series gets to 96, you could say that it's, because they didn't stop publishing it.
Yeah.
The next month was Action
changed the
Comics
numbering.
#1. Or they may have taken like a month off.
Okay.
But
and they did that with their entire
everything.
line.
Yes. Batman is now Batman and Detective Comics both started in 39 and 40 are now Volume 2 restarted again. Now we're getting ready for all those that rebooted in 2011. We're almost to issue 50 for those, so that's going to be a big thing there.
Yeah.
But it seems like with DC Comics, it seems like a continual string of gimmicks.
Yeah.
Stop with the gimmicks. Just write good, compelling characters.
Well, that's the thing too, is that they've got arguably the pantheon favors them until Marvel made, arguably maybe even third-tier characters like Iron Man into first-tier characters with the movie.
Yeah.
So here's hoping DC gets back on track, because you don't want a situation where like a Microsoft dominates the entire operating system market for forever. Mm-hmm. You don't want that in comics. You don't want one line to dominate. And my question to you is, who puts out Star Wars? Marvel does, under contract with Disney.
Yep.
So now, obviously, it's popular this year because of The Force Awakens, I assume. Or would it have been still in the top 10 even if there was no movie?
I think it would still been in the top 10.
Wow.
Because the movie certainly helped it, but I think it still would have.
And
been.
is it a good run?
Very good.
Okay, so
very good. And they also have a Darth Vader series that is really, really good.
Well, see, that's the thing. They seem to be doing pretty good. And I've even heard from other people, it might have been you or Mike, saying that in some cases, when you look the week to week, there's a third independent. There's one of the independents gets in there, and
Image,
yeah.
Walking Dead is always in the top 10 every month.
There you go.
So I'm surprised it wasn't in the top 10 because every month usually the top 10 is 8 Marvel titles, then Batman, and then Walking Dead. That's usually the way the top 10 every month breaks down.
And Dark Knight 3 obviously being the top of the...
Yeah, it is a special thing. And it was one of the biggest things to come out this year because it was Frank Miller returning to the Dark Knight Returns universe.
Okay, yeah. So
it was a pretty
Is he also
big deal.
drawing it, or is he just writing it?
He is actually not even writing it. He's almost like I think
executive producer.
It's listed as co-writing.
Okay.
But he has said this is Brian Azzarello's story, so he's gonna do one now. He's become like reinvigorated. So he's like, okay, this is Brian Azzarello's story. I'm gonna tell another one.
Okay.
So we have at least another one coming.
Wow.
So
I've got 1,000 questions, but we don't have all night. So, but that's surprising to me. Like I say, I just hope DC gets back on their feet And I mean,
Well, it's not like they're losing money.
and they're not. I mean, and it's just that you start getting it's all mind share, and the trends that because remember, the nerds that'll be doing podcast or holocast or whatever they're called in 30 years are the kids buying digital comics and maybe even paper comics right now, and they're going to get swayed by what the trend line is, and there's probably a lot more Marvel fans than DC fans.
We're in another boom right now.
Yeah.
We couldn't really realize it back in the 90s when we were in a boom.
Yeah.
But we were, and we are again.
Yeah. And there's no speculator bubble this time either because digital's kind of eliminated that in a sense. I guess.
In a way, but it's not. But there is still, collecting is still a big deal.
Okay.
But
you can still read the stories now if you want to go digital and not worry about having to spend. Because I went to a comic store locally back in 1990 right before we met for the first time. I went to the local comic store that's real famous. I don't want to mention its name.
Heroes are hard to find.
I don't know.
We always talk about them.
Okay, and sadly at that time they had I've never read it. I was going to buy the trade paper of Killing Joke.
Oh yeah.
It was $60.
Yep.
In 1990.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy it, or 1989 actually. This was fall of '89, right before we met.
Well, they've re-released it now. You can get it.
And that's the thing. Well, even and the
but that
thing,
was the first print.
But the thing with it is that you started seeing a lot of those get into Barnes and Noble and Border back when those existed, and that cut the trade paper increase out of the picture, because by the mid 90s I never used to, it's $20 for a trade, or 1995 or whatever. So which is what I would buy before I started buying digital. I would buy the trade papers.
Yeah. And Mike does that. He waits for a bundle a lot of times. Not basically because he wants to read the whole story at one
Correct,
time.
because you can, it takes.
But Killing Joke was one. It was a graphic novel. It was one.
That's true.
One shot.
And the thing that got me, and I understand that it was issue 1, or printing 1, but still, the speculators, I think, almost destroyed the comics industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And they also kept people like me for potentially becoming huge comic fans. Because I'll be honest with you, that left a sour taste in my mouth for comics, because I just wanted to buy a comic book.
Well, see, that was what the second and third and fourth printings were for.
Yeah.
If you just wanted to read it, you get one of those.
And see, no one told me that. And see, that's the thing. Well, see, that's the problem. In introducing new people to it, is that sort of, you gotta have to know the lay of the land for it. Is one of the, and of course it is an insular community. That's the one reason why I don't cry over the coming of the digital comics. I love it, especially having 49-year-old eyeballs, because I can now read.
iPad. Yeah.
But no, if I want to read a story, I can just read it, and it's now. It's the same story, and I can really. And you can even put it on your TV. Because I have a computer hooked to my TV, you can zoom in. Use the Comixology zoom feature, the guided view. That's it. I love that. Anyway,
and that's for me. It's more of a thing of storage space.
Yes,
I don't have it.
Yeah. Oh, I get that.
And so I read,
especially the high def comics. They take up some chunks, don't they?
I read the. No, I'm talking physical storage space.
Oh, I understand.
So I don't buy floppies. If there's a really good storyline, I'll buy a trade paperback when they bundle it.
Yes.
But I read I don't buy floppies anymore. I buy digital to read the ongoing series.
Gotcha. And then to get it on printed, you get the trade. Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, like I said, it's a storage space situation.
Yeah.
And a trade paperback or a graphic novel, I can put on my bookshelf with the rest of my books.
Yeah.
And so that's it.
And they are so pretty. They really are. Yeah.
Yeah. So that fixes that. So, but stuff that came out yesterday, because now we're recording on Thursday. If you're a loyal listener of the Ninja Troll, you'll notice that we've now switched to recording on Thursdays due to like scheduling conflicts. So we're gonna record on Thursdays now, so it'll be uploaded then. So the comics now we used to read the comics that were on the shelves that day. They came out yesterday. So coming out this week, yesterday, Action Comics number 48, Batman and Robin Eternal number 14, Batman Beyond number 8, DC Comics Bombshells number 8, Detective Comics 48, Green Arrow 48, Green Lantern 48, Midnighter number 8, Swamp Thing number 1, Telos number 4, which I believe is the last issue of that one. It got canceled. Sheriff of Babylon number 2, Survivors Club number 4, Unfollow number 3. From Marvel, A-Force number 1, All New Inhumans number 1, Amazing Spider-Man number 6, Contest of Champions number 4, Deadpool number 5, Doctor Strange number 4, Guardians of Infinity number 2, Howard the Duck number 3, Invincible Iron Man number 5, Nova number 3, Obi-Wan and Anakin number 1, which was delayed from last week, Rocket Raccoon and Groot number 1, Spider-Man 2099 number 5, Spider-Man Deadpool number 1, like we were talking about earlier, Spidey number 2, and Spidey is a series that's set with him in high school. It's more for kids.
Gotcha.
It's specifically for kids. Star Wars number 14, Totally Awesome Hulk number 2, Uncanny X-Men number 1, Vision number 3, Weird World number 2, and from Image, Bitch Planet number 6, Black Science number 19, Dark Quarter number 6, Fade Out number 12, Nailbiter number 19, Paper Girls number 4, Saints number 4, Stray Bullets, Sunshine and Roses number 11.
Good Lord have mercy.
Yeah, that's not all of them. That's
I need to get back on the internet and start looking at some,
there's some really
wizard
good
website or something,
There's some really good stuff out there, and I mean DC and Marvel have some really good stuff, but there's a lot of good independent stuff out there.
Yeah.
That a series that Mike and I have absolutely loved recently is a crossover. It's the Star Trek Green Lantern crossover. It's awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
That is so cool.
It was a 6-issue and it just finished up, but they kind of set it up to where it could be an ongoing thing because the Green Lanterns are now in the Star Trek universe, so it could be an ongoing thing.
That really is cool.
That would be awesome. But that is a spin of the comic rack. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss Doctor Who.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish that.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm Cully Hamner, artist of The Question and Red, and you're listening to the Ninja Troll Digicast.
All right, welcome back to the Ninja Troll Digicast, and now it's time to look into one of my new, I mean, I know it's not new, but for me, it's a new discovery, Doctor Who.
New fans are always welcome.
Exactly, yeah. And Chris is someone who's watched a lot of the new series from like 2005 on.
Correct.
It's been around since, when did it start, the 60s?
It started in 1963, the weekend of the JFK assassination, actually.
Oh,
It was
wow.
when the first episode...
Is that why it was delayed? I know the first one was delayed for a little
there's
bit.
Not controversy, but there's like two different stories about that. Some people say it was delayed because of that. Some people say it wasn't. Pardon me. It was delayed. I think that's
for like
not
8 seconds?
something like that because the BBC was in some sort of what we would call modernly wall-to-wall coverage, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So, but basically it did come on, and it started in 1963. Now, I'm not a huge expert on the first go of the Doctor Who series, which ran from 1963 to 1989. And in that time, we had... Let me think. We had 7 doctors in the original run, and then in 1996 there was a movie with Paul McGann playing the Doctor.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And that was not very well received, and that was a Fox, BBC, U.S. kind of thing, and it was set in San Francisco. It wasn't set in Britain, and so it wasn't. And I actually watched it, and it really wasn't that good. But story of the beginning of Doctor Who in the UK was dramatized in a TV movie on the BBC in 2013,
So
the 50th anniversary.
that was like a docudrama.
It was a docudrama about the beginning of Doctor Who.
Oh.
And one of my favorite actors, Brian Cox, who was the first person to actually portray Hannibal Lecter on screen.
In Manhunter?
In Manhunter. He plays the director of the network, or at least the person who's over the drama of the network, and he plays him as just a carnival barker. He's a Canadian who sounds like, he's P.T. Barnum. And it's called An Adventure in Space and Time. You can find it on any, streaming service. And it's worth your time because it also has one of the first females in British television history and probably in television history who became a really powerful executive. And it's about her story, and she became like the executive producer of Doctor Who, and the person who really was guiding it from the network perspective. And they really had nothing. They had the most weed infested studio to do the show, and as far as I know, the entire first run of Doctor Who was shot live with a switcher, the way soap operas are shot.
Oh wow.
Except the outdoor shots were shot on film. So it was kind of that Benny Hill thing where you see interiors done on videotape, but exterior was shot on probably 16 millimeter film.
Yeah.
So you had that juxtaposition. Okay. Doctor Who had humongous fans, and it had a huge cultural impact in Britain that just cannot be downplayed. I mean, essentially, it's its own Harry Potter. I mean, it's its own thing. And it went off the air in 1989 because it was losing viewers and the generations were changing, and the BBC really didn't know what to do with it anymore. They tried that revival in the mid-90s. But finally, by 2005, we get a revival. And during the late 90s, television producer Russell T. Davies, a lifelong Doctor Who fan, lobbied the BBC to revive the show from its long hiatus. He reached the discussion stages in late 1998 and in early 2002. Now, his proposals would update the show to better suited for a 21st century audience. Now, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was one of the kind of influences, at least in tone, for what he wanted to do. And he's frequently mentioned Joss Whedon as a kind of at least a tone influence to what he wanted to do. He wanted to basically do fantastic adventure, but also have the heart on the sleeve kind of, drama that you would have in something like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And if you look at the first of the new, I'm just going to call it season 1, for lack of a better term, from 2005, you get that kind of impression. So basically, he wrote the pitch for Doctor Who. It's the first time he did a pitch. Davis regularly opted to outline concepts usually. And by 2004, the show had finally got greenlit and settled into production cycle. Davies, the BBC's controller, which is basically their manager or their president of programming, took roles on the show. And basically, Davies took over as head writer, or what we would call showrunner, and the rest is history. And basically, you had the first Doctor under his tutelage was Christopher Eccleston. And Eccleston was a different Doctor. Most of the Doctors were kind of what you call foppish British. Yeah. They're very colorful.
I don't think I've seen any of his.
He's really good. I mean, you've probably seen Tom Baker, or at least pictures of Tom Baker, frizzy-headed. He was the classic. The one
I remember.
In America, BBC ran the Tom Baker Doctor Who's all the time. PBS. I'm sorry. Yeah, PBS. Is way before BBC America. PBS ran the Doctor Who's all the time when I was a kid, and I would watch them, and they were kind of laughable because I was too young to get what it was, and all I saw was the British
hokey
production values with the shaky walls when they'd slam doors and that kind of thing. And a lot of basically it's like looking at the original Star Trek and just seeing a lot of Christmas lights on black wood.
And not getting what they were doing.
And not getting what they're doing. So that was my problem. But anyway, Eccleston comes out, and he's a completely different Doctor in 2005. He's got a leather jacket. He's a kind of a tough guy. He's tall, he's lanky. He has kind of a northern accent, which is almost British going into almost a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And he really just kind of comes off like a guy that can handle himself. You know what I mean? And with him is Rose as his companion. And
I like Rose.
And Rose is awesome because Rose is just a regular girl who you really get the Buffy kind of thing with her because she is kind of a heart on her sleeve kind of person. She's basically offered the magic character to go on an adventure with, and her boyfriend, this poor schlub guy that she's dating, is kind of left, in the weeds there for a while. Although he becomes a companion for a while, a little bit later.
And that's kind of an ongoing thing because Clara have that same kind of thing.
Absolutely, that is an ongoing motif with them because you have this grand adventure that is offered to these people of Earth. And what happens to the people who missed them? And they actually cover that in season 1 of Doctor Who because sometimes Doctor Who isn't quite as accurate with the time machine as he should be.
Yeah.
And you think you're gone for 12 hours, you might have been gone for 12 months.
Yeah.
So what happens then? You walk up and there's a picture of you on a phone pole because they think you're missing.
And because he's immortal, doesn't matter to him.
Pretty much.
One I watched the other day, there was a girl who was 15, and he was like, "Oh, you should be fine. What are you, 35?" He's like, he doesn't get that.
He doesn't even understand
He
it.
doesn't get that.
Absolutely. And the good thing is that Doctor Who is essentially just British cheekiness played on a stage of just fantasy and fiction, and it is a lot of fun. And I will say this. When I watch Doctor Who, it's when I'm in that mindset. It's also kind of my Star Wars mindset. If I'm in more of I want to watch The Wire kind of mindset, probably not time for me to watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
So if one watches Doctor Who as an adult and it just looks like a bunch of kids nonsense, you might want to wait if you have the circuit in your brain or in your heart when you're like more kid-like, wait to those times because it is a fantasy show.
I don't think it's necessarily just for kids because there's
not.
There's a lot of ones that are very smartly written. There's one that was the Orient Express in space.
Oh yeah,
where the 66 seconds when the chime goes off, there's 66 seconds and somebody dies.
Oh yeah,
and
that was a Tenet episode, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was very smartly written, and it was very. There's a lot of them that have like a creepy, almost horror element to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the one I was we were talking about in the break. We were talking about one called The Family of Blood, where they animate scarecrows.
Oh yes.
Now that was scary.
That was, and believe me, there is some true horror in the shows, and the one that, and I'll get it to when I get to my list of must-watch episodes.
Yes.
You'll love it. But Eccleston only stayed around for the first of the revival
he only
seasons.
did one,
He did. And in 10th Doctor, David Tennant comes on in 2005, actually the same year, technically, and is probably...
He stayed for a while. He was probably the longest.
He was on there for 5 years. And he was probably the most popular Doctor Who. And you've seen him on Jessica Jones. You know the kind of actor he is.
Yeah.
He could go from cheeky British guy threatening you with a cookie to the utmost terrifying threat in a blink, literally.
And that is the thing I've kind of noticed with the Doctor. There's times he's just a jerk.
Oh, yeah.
He's an absolute jerk.
He's not a human.
He's not human. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. And in a sense, he's almost like a Galactus kind of character or something, in a really powerful character in one of the comics. So the 10th Doctor comes along, extremely popular, and considered one of the greatest incarnations of the character. Tennant, just a bunch of accolades for the role. One of my favorites. And the one thing they tend to do in Doctor Who is that they don't reboot Doctor and companion at the same time.
Yeah.
They bridge. So you have Billie Piper continue on as the companion of the Doctor through the first season of Tennant.
Rose?
That's Rose.
Okay.
And then Freeman Angema, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but you know what I'm talking about. Martha comes on, and then Martha goes, and then you have I can't think of her name, the redheaded one.
Donna.
Donna comes on, and So you
And
have
there was an episode I saw where they had all of them.
Oh yeah,
Martha was there. Barrowman's character, Jack Harkness.
Oh, Jack Harkness, yeah.
He was on there. Rose was on there. Donna was on there. Clara was on there. They were all.
Yeah.
It was something got them all together.
Yeah.
So
Are they running around the hallway shooting things? Because I remember that one.
Maybe.
Okay. That one was a good one. That might have been the last one. Well, if you see the last one that Billy Piper was in, or not the last one for Billy Piper, it might have been the last one. No, it was the last one for Eccleston.
Yes, I don't think I've seen any of his.
Okay, Eccleston. There's some episodes of Eccleston that are just awesome, but the companions, the one I want to really mention, would basically be. Well, actually, that would be Matt Smith's companion. But Matt Smith takes over in 2013 as the 11th Doctor.
No, he took over in 2010.
2010, sorry, you're right. And 2013.
Yes,
I misread
exactly.
my own notes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The thing with following up Tenet was just impossible. I mean, you really thought no one could do this, and I wasn't sold on Matt Smith at first. I went back a year later and couldn't get enough of him. So Matt Smith is much more. He almost reminds me of a young Dick Van Dyke because he kind of resembles a young Dick Van Dyke. But
and the few episodes I've seen with him, he is the one was when the Cybermen were trying to take him over. So he got to play both parts. The Siberian trying to take him over and the Doctor. So he would jump from place to place, talking back and forth to himself. And he was having a time with that.
Yeah, he was chewing some scenery. That's the thing that I really liked him. I will say that the current Doctor, Peter Capaldi, I have not really taken to.
Yeah.
That being said, my hopscotchy way of watching Doctor Who, months from now I may have a different answer because
I think it depends on the episodes.
It depends on the episodes, and Capaldi plays him almost in a Merlin kind of way, like the wizard Merlin, kind of that version of a magical character. A little scary. Yeah, he's not your buddy. He's not going to give you a coat or wear a fez or do
he's
funny
more
things.
Grumpy old man.
Correct.
I've seen 1 or 2 episodes with him, and one was where they had to they found out that the moon was actually an egg.
Oh, I saw that one.
And they had to decide if they were going to let the egg hatch or whether they were going to destroy the egg.
Yeah.
And they had to decide which way to go, whether they were going to kill a living creature, on the off chance it might hurt the Earth, or not.
Yeah.
So
that's some good stuff. Basically, I'm going to go real quick over the bad guys real quick. The Daleks are the most famous bad guys. They're basically, as the British call, the rolling pepper pots, and with plungers for eyeball stalks. They are so funny. I mean, they annoyed me at first, but then I finally kind of got their humor. They kind of won me over. They just beat me up, Cybermen are kind of their creepiest in a way.
I love the Cybermen
because
before I had ever watched Doctor Who, I saw a Cyberman bust. And wanted to buy it because it just looked really cool.
Now, was
robot.
It the older one that looked more like a 50s TV? It wasn't the new
one.
Because what I love about the retro one, it looks like something you build off of 50s television.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But the Master is sort of like the doppelganger of the Doctor.
Yes.
He's a Time Lord. He can regenerate. Sometimes maybe not a he. And
he's been Missy.
The Master is just an interesting character. Derek Jacobi played the really, to me, the most memorable version of the Master because he was a friendly old guy who suddenly remembered that he was. I think his soul was in a watch too or something.
Yeah.
And he got that was one of those ones that was set at the end of the universe. It was a really scary episode. But the basic thing, I want to go ahead and skip to some companions that we have missed. Amy Pond Karen Gillan played Amy Pond. Amy Pond was a Matt Smith companion, and Roy Williams, played by Arthur Darvill, as her husband. Very good. And of course, Captain Jack Harkness. You just can't. Be. I mean, he's a television version.
He actually went on to his own series, Torchwood.
He did.
Yeah.
And Torchwood was not for kids.
Yeah.
Not for kids. So noted classic episodes. Robots of Death, Doctor Who and the Silurians. You can get a lot of these on download.
I think they're all on Netflix.
Yes.
I believe. Yeah.
And modern ones, The Day of the Doctor, starring Matt Smith, David Tennant, John Hurt, Jenna Coleman, and Billy Piper. You might have seen that one. I don't know. That's a TV movie. It's called The Day of the Doctor. And John Hurt plays a doctor that we have not heard of, who's not in the Doctor numerical order, called the War Doctor. And
I heard mention of the War Doctor.
And he's the War Doctor. He's the doctor who basically stopped the final war with the Daleks, but in doing so considers his own self guilty of genocide. He's very hard on himself, and the guilt transfers over doctor to doctor down the line, to where they kind of made him a non-memory. They've tried to take him out of their own timeline. Vincent and the Doctor is a Matt Smith, Karen Gillan episode. That is Vincent Van Gogh and Doctor Who. That's a very good one. Dalek, starring Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper from 2005. Awesome. Silence of the Library, Forest of the Dead is David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Alex Kinston. Her character is River Song. She is awesome. She's a girlfriend of the Doctor, kind of, sort of. And they never meet in the same timeline. She's going one way in the timeline. He's going another way in the timeline. And they always kind of have to compare notes because they don't want to violate each other's timeline.
Yeah.
So, and that's really cool.
They were married, weren't they?
They probably were, yes.
I think
so.
The
thing with it is that by the time they get married, River Song's going to be played by a younger actress probably because the Doctor's going to be old, and it's just it's weird.
Yeah.
So,
but she was on the Christmas episode this year.
Yeah.
Which is technically the first episode of the new season.
That's how they do it, yeah.
But they don't have another episode until like August.
Correct. So and basically the production starts off, or they might production wise do it as the last of the current season. I'm not exactly sure.
I looked it up. It's listed as the first
of the
new season.
There you go.
Each time.
This is the one I cannot recommend enough. If you watch anything from the Eccleston season 1 05 Doctor Who revival, watch The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances. Just watch that. Actually watch Rose and then watch those two. There's some episodes with the Slytherins or whatever in there that you probably wouldn't. I mean, they're kind of silly. But those episodes, oh my goodness. It's really and truly some of the best fantasy fiction I've seen. And and just some of the best fantasy fiction I've seen. I mean, I just can't, there's no other qualifier. And probably one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever is one called Blink from 2007. Yeah. David Tennant, Carey Mulligan before she became a movie star, and Freema Agyeman, and sure. And it is, it's just the best. I mean, I would put it up against the best of Star Trek, X-Files, anything. I mean, it is.
And that's the one with the Weeping Angels.
That's the one with the Weeping Angels, and I don't want to say any more. It's just so well put together. That
was recorded. It's on the DVR, but haven't watched it.
You will love it, and it uses the it makes time travel make sense.
Wow.
It doesn't, and it actually makes sense. It's not just full of holes and you
just go with it.
Yeah,
moments.
It's not. I mean, and it actually shows the human cost of this kind of thing, and so it's really good. And that is our look at mostly the revival of Doctor Who.
One thing I noticed when I was first getting into it, I started looking back at the other Doctors. The third Doctor was John Pertwee. His son, Sean Pertwee, plays Alfred on Gotham.
Oh, cool! That's him.
Yep.
Oh,
because that was there. I started looking at the guys who played the Doctor, and I saw Pertwee. That's not exactly like Smith.
No, that's not Smith.
That's a pretty distinctive name. So I was like, wait a minute, I know that. Where is it from? And I clicked on his name and started looking at, and his son is Sean Pertwee, who plays Alfred on Gotham.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of a fun little bridge there. So, but yeah, it's something over the Christmas break I got into. It's one of those things I always wanted to watch, just never had. And I had time over Christmas break, so it's on BBC America, which I always watch BBC America because they have Star Trek Next Generation.
Uh-huh.
They also have Kitchen Nightmares, which I absolutely love.
Well, you were the man of the kitchen back in your cook days, yes.
So yeah, I watched that, and then it was coming on, and I figured, hey, what else I got to do? Let me go ahead and finally watch it. So I'm hooked now. So, and that's the thing. They've had the Christmas episode.
Yes.
I was like, okay, let's get the season started.
Let's go. Let's do it.
August.
Well, but I will tell you this. Is it available still on Netflix?
It is, yeah.
It is.
I just need to watch some. Yeah.
I tell you what, you don't even have to DVR them. You just go to Netflix and like I say,
just pick out the ones.
Pick out the ones that I've given you, or go in order. The ones I've picked out, you don't need to know anything. As far as I know, you don't.
Yeah.
And
well, that's kind of the thing. When I first started, I didn't. Like I was telling Mike last week, I didn't really look at it and go, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, so I get everything.
Yeah.
Whatever came on, I was like, all right, let's go. Yeah. And I understand that there's things I don't get.
Yeah.
But just
you're doing
I'll
better
catch
than
up
me.
later.
Because at first, and this is back in 2007-ish, I guess, I had to put the captioning on so I can understand these people.
Oh, there's moments that
yeah.
When they start speaking, especially
the rapid
David Tennant,
British, yeah.
David Tennant, who is I believe he is Scottish.
He is.
Yeah, when he gets going,
yes,
there's times you need the captioning.
What did
he say? Yeah. So, there's not that many times though.
Yeah.
So
I think you've got an entire, and this is the cool thing, you have an entire universe to just
jump into
dive
and
into,
have
really.
fun.
I mean, really and truly, that is, I envy you, man. I really do, because it really is worth, and I think it'll hit the fantasy notes.
Into.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a literary background that I lack. I think you'll like it because it's very literary at times. It's very, and it's, I mean, essentially, it is the motif of the wizard and the human companion. And that's what it is always. Yeah. The wizard and the human companion and the adventures that happen in that pairing. And, give them a TARDIS and send them on their way.
There we go. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, cool. There's our little look at Doctor Who. And I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it as I watch different things each week. I'll probably be gushing about the most recent one I've watched. So, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have our showcase on Kryptonite.
Awesome.
Our hailing frequencies are always open. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just search Ninja Troll Digicast or drop us an email at ninjatroll@digitaltuxedo.com.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place, and then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is Richard Cumley, creator of Captain Canuck. You are listening to Ninja Troll Digicast.
He sounds so confused.
I mean, I can just see the reading.
Yeah.
But he was a sport, obviously.
He was a cool guy. We actually had a table next to him at last year's Heroes Con in Charlotte. Awesome. And so he sat next to us the whole weekend. So you'd figure he would know by the time I interviewed him. But yeah, he was. You could totally. He was like the confusion. Is like, what is it called?
The what?
The what now? But yeah, he was a really cool guy. So
that's cool.
Fun. It was fun to be there next to him. But there's an event coming up that we want to make a mention of. It actually starts next Monday, January 11th, here at Queen's University of Charlotte, North Carolina, where we're recording the show, where we always record the show. We are having Pencils and Pixels, which is an art show, a comic-based art show.
Cool.
It will be in the Max L. Jackson Gallery in the Watkins Building. The exhibit starts next Monday, January 11th, and it goes through February 12th. It's open from 10 to 4 weekdays. Admission is free. You just come on campus, find your parking place, which is sometimes the hardest part. Find a parking place, and then admission to the gallery is free. There's an opening reception next Thursday, January 14th from 5 to 8. And then we will have a Comic-Con night on Thursday, January 28th from 5 to 8. So at that point, all of the artists that will be in the show will be there with tables set up just like it's a Comic-Con event.
That is cool.
We will be all set up, and we'll be selling our prints and everything. And I mean, it's an art show. Everything is for sale. Everything that's up on the walls is for sale. Both myself and Mike will have pieces in the show.
That is cool.
So
man.
we're very, very excited. I'm very excited about it because this is like the first art show.
Well, I'm
I've
excited
done.
for you, man.
So I'm very excited about it, and it's all local comic artists. It's going to be so cool. Rico Renzi's going to be in it. Brandon Padgett. I forget all the names. Mike would know all the names because he's co-curator of the show.
Cool.
So he would know all the names, but he's off from Disneyland. Or floating Disneyland, but it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of incredible comic talent out there, and me too. So it's going to be and if this is really successful, we'll do it again.
That's cool.
So that's something that's really cool.
So this is the first annual,
hopefully. Pencils and Pixels art show at Queen's University.
That is
of
cool,
Charlotte.
man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, come by and check it out. Especially, like I said, on the January 28th will be the Comic-Con night. So I'm really looking forward to that because I think a lot of we need to push it to the students, and I think the students are going to really enjoy it.
Yes.
A lot coming through. And we had Chuck Wendig, the writer of Star Wars Aftermath. He is a Queen's graduate. So a couple, like last month, we had him here to do a reading of his book, which Aftermath, if you don't know, is one of the books that bridges between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Okay. And so
it's new expanded universe, basically.
Yes, everything else has been wiped out.
Yeah.
Except for this. And we actually sat and talked to him about that, and he got a lot of venom from that.
I'm sure he did.
Because he I didn't have anything to do with it.
He undid the Thrawn trilogy.
He didn't do it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And that's what he was saying. It was like, listen, I'm just a dude
we
who begged
need to
for
know
a job.
What did happen? If that didn't happen, and that was in another universe, then what did happen?
Yeah, but he was when he was here, we didn't really turn it into a Comic-Con, but we had some of the members of the 501st, our friends from the 501st Star Wars cosplay group.
Okay.
So we had stormtroopers here for his reading, which had to be a first, and the look on one of the professor's face was priceless.
I bet it was. Like,
what's going on in here?
Oh my, Martha.
Heavens. So,
my Lord.
But this will be a full-on Comic-Con event. We're going to have members of the 501st here. We're going to hopefully we have people in cosplay. I'd like that.
Well, that's just atmosphere.
Exactly.
That's
that would be
what you need.
The Comic-Con atmosphere. So,
but it's going to be. I guarantee you're going to start seeing. And I know one thing I like about having a female superhero or hero in the Star Wars canon now, besides just Princess Leia, is now you've got Rey, who is, we don't know exactly what she is, but she's obviously Force talented.
Yes.
So, and now young women have another hero they can play in the Star Wars universe.
Well, one of the stormtroopers that was here for Chuck's reading was a female.
There you go.
You didn't know it, but because she's inside the bucket.
Yeah.
But and she does. Princess Leia also. She also does I've seen pictures of it. She does a really, really good Marty McFly.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, she's been doing cosplay
for
a long time. But the Pencils and Pixels art show here at the Max L. Jackson Gallery in the Watkins Building here on the campus of Queen's University of Charlotte. It starts Monday, January 11th. It goes to February 12th. And our Comic-Con event will be Thursday, January 28th, which is 2 days before the Heroes Charlotte Mini-Con.
Okay.
Which that will happen on Saturday, January 30th.
Now, is there any admission to any of this, or is it all?
No, the pencils and pixels is all free admission.
That's cool.
All you got to do is show up and come through.
Ooh.
Now, MiniCon is different. It's I don't know exactly what the admission is for that, but actually, it's not very much.
No,
I think last year if you brought a canned good for like it was a food drive.
Yeah.
If you brought a canned
and
good,
I'm sure
you got
that's all on the internets,
Yeah. You can go to heroesonline.com and check out that.
Yeah.
And see what the admission is. So, but we'll be there as well. We will have a table with Mike, myself. We'll be jammed into one table, so that should be interesting.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like I saw one of the places you do this little podcast. It's probably what you're used to.
It's plush, well lit. Cathedral of wisdom is what you mean, sir.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I meant no disrespect.
All right, so that's an event coming up. Now it's time for our showcase.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ninja Troll Digicast proudly presents The Showcase.
All right, this is our showcase segment where we shine the Ninja Troll spotlight on a subject each week and get an in-depth look at it. This week, we're going with Kryptonite.
I love this one.
Because it is has become as much of the part of the culture as Superman has.
Absolutely.
People talk about, this is my kryptonite.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like what warp drive is to Star Trek and pop culture. I mean, it's one of those words that anybody says, even if they don't really know where it comes from, they know what it means.
Yeah, somebody can throw out, this is my kryptonite,
Absolutely.
and you immediately know this is what gets them. It's what, lays them low.
Yes.
So we wanted to look back, and actually the first documented mention of it, actually not really. It wasn't really called Kryptonite at the time, but this was an unpublished story from 1940.
Okay.
Called the K Metal from Krypton. Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel introduced a prototype of Kryptonite, which was a mineral from the planet Krypton that drained Superman of his powers and would give humans superhuman powers. But it was never published, and he never actually called it Kryptonite in that story.
Okay.
But that was the first kind of mention of it, or the idea. In 1943, while the Adventures of Superman radio series was on, the Bud Collyer, the actor who voiced Superman, essentially there was no reruns.
Oh, it's all live. Yeah.
They did it all live every day, I think.
Yeah.
So he needed some time off. So they came up with they introduced a mineral named Kryptonite in the story arc, The Meteor from Krypton. Superman was trapped in a Kryptonite trap for several episodes, and a voice stand-in simply groaned with pain. That was the whole thing. While Collier was on vacation, they had a voice stand-in actor just groan in pain to allow him to.
Mike actually is here. He's just sick.
That's him over in the corner. I thought that was really ingenious, though.
Yes, it is.
And it's something you don't think about. There was no reruns.
That's true. It's all live.
You couldn't
They
slap
didn't
on
even
an
have
old
transcription disc recorders back then, I
Yeah.
don't think. Not in that time.
one. You couldn't slap on an old one.
No.
You had to. They did it live, and it was.
Wow.
I would love to do that, like a
live radio show.
live radio drama like that.
I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, but I think you know enough cheeseball, hammy friends who could probably pull something off.
As long as you can hold your hand to your ear,
We must do this.
Bulova watch time.
Bulova watch time. Sports. So yeah, we've
You'd
definitely.
have to, but they had the guys with the sound effects things going on, and you had each one with a script.
The most thing you see usually is re-dramatizations of Orson Welles and the Mercury guys doing the War of the Worlds, and you see that. You see the clop, 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 clop of the shells doing the horse. Well, maybe not horses in that one, but the same thing. They put a jar in a toilet bowl for the opening of the Mars spaceship, and it's all so cool.
They decided, those guys were ingenious.
Yes, and that was the beginning of Foley art.
That's what I was about to say. The prototypical Foley artists that now do that for a living.
Oh, absolutely.
On TV shows, movies, everything. They sit there and watch. Okay, they're running across carpet there, so it should sound like this, and they do that. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what they do, which I think is awesome.
It is awesome. It really is.
Yeah. But that was the actual first mention of it. It was actually introduced in the radio show, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool.
But in 1949, Kryptonite was introduced into the comic mythos in issue 61 of Superman, Volume 1. The editor at the time, Dorothy Woolfolk, felt that Superman's invulnerability had become dull and felt that DC's flagship hero would be more interesting with an Achilles heel, like an adverse reaction to a fragment of his home planet. So that's when it got introduced, and actually Dorothy Woolfolk was a groundbreaking lady as a female in the comic industry, in the fact that she was behind the introduction of Kryptonite into the comics was a pretty cool thing. So, but there's been several different colors of it. That's the thing that when you think of Kryptonite, you think of the green metal.
I think of green and red.
The green crystal, yeah. And it makes him weak.
Yeah, and red makes him mean.
And red makes him mean. Yeah, but that is primarily from the movies. Is where we got that from. And for the most part, post-Crisis, that's what it is.
Okay.
But back in the Silver Age,
when
it was a lot of different colors, and there was some wacky stuff. But the first that everybody knows is green, although it was originally red in color.
Okay.
When it was first introduced in the comics. But it debuted in Superman number 61, like we were just saying, in November 1949, but did not adopt its characteristic green hue until Action Comics 161 in August of 1951. So in 1951, that's when it became
that's
the green
basically
Kryptonite
the birth
that we know.
of what we know as Kryptonite. That looks kind of like a green quartz crystal, basically.
Basically. And it weakened Superman and other Kryptonians. Now, the Red Kryptonite debuted in Action Comics 252 in September 1958. It originally just weakened Superman, but to a greater degree than green. So it was like a souped-up version of the green. Later, it caused bizarre behavior and transformations.
Yes.
That's what we know from the movie. But, of course, that was fake Kryptonite. That was that was. Let's not even talk about that.
No. We forget that happened.
At least it wasn't Superman 4.
Yes.
Now, there's also Anti-Kryptonite. It debuted in Action Comics 252 in May of 1959. It's Action Comics 252. The Red debuted in Adventure Comics. I don't know if I said that correctly or not. But Anti-Kryptonite debuted in Action Comics 252 in May 1959. It's harmless to Kryptonians, but has the same effect as the green variety on normal humans, hence the Anti-Kryptonite, and is the power source for one version of the character Ultraman, who is Superman's evil Earth 3 counterpart.
That's true.
So it was like a power source for him.
Oh, so it wasn't the sun in that universe.
No, it was Kryptonite. It would give him new powers.
Okay.
Like when he was exposed to it. So there was also X-Kryptonite. It debuted in Action Comics 261 in January 1960. It was created by Supergirl in an unsuccessful attempt to find an antidote to green kryptonite. It is harmless to Kryptonians and gives normal life forms. Notice I didn't say normal humans. I said normal life forms, superhuman abilities, such as Supergirl's pet cat, Streaky.
Oh, dear.
Who was able to fly, I believe, at that point.
It's the silly times.
Yeah. It was revised in Superman Family number 203 in October 1980 to have the same effect on humans as green does on Kryptonians.
Okay.
Then blue kryptonite was introduced in Superman number 140 in October 1960. It is an imperfect form of kryptonite, which affects the imperfect character Bizarro in the same way that green affects Superman. So that is his version of it. White kryptonite debuted in Adventure Comics number 279 in December 1960. It kills all plant life from any world.
Okay.
So it's just...
So essentially by this time they're getting into this kind of MacGuffin habit.
Whatever, exactly. Yeah. Whatever they needed something to happen, they went, it's chartreuse.
Exactly.
Kryptonite.
So it becomes like the technobabble of Trek when it's at its technobabbly worst.
Yeah.
They basically go, well, we need
this to happen.
All the dry erase boards to not be here or something.
Yeah.
You get like
So
Mauve
dry
kryptonite.
erase kryptonite
Yes.
gets rid of all the dry erase boards.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and then now we're getting in the combination. This is our alloys. The red green, the first version of red green. This was introduced in Action Comics 275 in April of 1961. An alloy created by Brainiac, which caused Superman to mutate, temporarily growing a third eye in the back of his head.
Oh dear.
That's odd.
That could be problematic.
Yeah, it's true.
Or it could be very cool because you can see it coming.
You can see Luthor.
You can protect your six, as they say.
There you go. So now, Gold Kryptonite debuted in Adventure Comics 299 in August 1962. Kryptonite affected by atomic radiation. It was kryptonite affected by atomic radiation and was capable of permanently removing a Kryptonian's ability to process yellow sunlight, which is what
That's actually kind of a neat fictional explanation for that.
Yeah, that's what gives Kryptonians their power on Earth. So that would basically nullify all their superhuman abilities. Post-Crisis, gold only removes a Kryptonian's powers temporarily. So it has been used after Crisis. Then there's red, green, blue, gold. So it's another alloy. It debuted in Superman number 162 in July of 1963. It was introduced in an imaginary story in which Superman combined the minerals to power a device to make him smarter. An explosion causes a mishap, and the character is split into two separate beings, Superman Blue and Superman Red.
Okay.
Both who had enhanced intelligence. So I guess technically it did work.
It did.
It just worked a little too good.
Yes. And it made them into two different colors.
Yes, that's true. Silver Kryptonite debuted in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 70. Yes, Jimmy Olsen used to have his own series.
Back then, the comic companies were printing their own money if Jimmy Olsen had an issue.
Oh, yeah. And it went on for a good long while. It wasn't like it was a real quick one. But Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 70, in July of 1963, is where Silver Kryptonite was introduced. It was revealed by Jimmy to be a hoax. However, it was reintroduced in Superman Batman number 49 in August of 2008 and was shown to cause Kryptonians to suffer from delusions.
Oh, okay. So it's crazy. It's crazy Kryptonite.
It's crazy Kryptonite, exactly. Then Jewel Kryptonite debuted in Action Comics number 310 in March of 1964. It is fragments of Krypton's Jewel Mountains. It amplifies the psychic powers of the criminals imprisoned in the Phantom Zone, allowing them to project illusions or perform mind control.
Okay.
Again, it was another one of those, hey, we need this to happen.
So
here's
let's
Kryptonite
go to the MacGuffin machine.
Yeah.
Crank out what color on the wheel haven't we used? Okay.
Yep. Jewel.
Good.
All right. Yeah. Then there's Bizarro Red Kryptonite, debuted in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 80 in October 1964. It affects humans the same way that red Kryptonite affects Kryptonians. Bizarre behavior, basically. Then there's the second variety of red-green. It was introduced in Superboy Comics number 121 in June 1965. It caused Superboy to lose his powers permanently, but Phantom Zone criminal Vacox unwillingly cured him and restored his powers.
I have a question. Sure. Now, when Krypton blew up, didn't it just dump all of its asteroidal debris onto Earth?
Basically. Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, it does seem a lot to show up here.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe they could have had some gold, some iron.
Yeah, no,
some regular periodic table.
Just radioactive stuff.
Not Kryptonian periodic table, but like Earth periodic table stuff,
It was just the radioactive stuff that came here. So,
a side question I could hold till after you're done with the list. If you want me to, I'll hold
go
it.
ahead.
Anybody ever made bullets out of Krypton or Kryptonium?
Oh yeah,
because
Lex Luthor did that all the time.
Well, see, that's the thing.
And there's in Supergirl, they have a knife.
That's true.
Kryptonite
That's
knife.
true. Because actually, I think that might have put the idea in my head, but I don't really remember. But I'm thinking, okay, Kryptonite, it hurts Superman. If you really wanted a defense against this godlike being in case he loses his mind, that would be it.
Oh, I bet you Batman has one.
Oh, I'm sure he's probably
He's
got a
contingency.
minigun with some of that stuff.
He's got a contingency for everybody in the Justice League.
Yes.
Yeah. So now red gold Kryptonite debuted in Superman number 178 in July 1965. It temporarily makes Kryptonians lose their memory.
Okay.
And Magno Kryptonite.
See, I'm trying to guess. When you say the name, I'm trying to guess
what
it's going to do, and it's nowhere near what I'm thinking. I'm just saying,
Now, you might be able to get this one. Magno Kryptonite debuted in Superman Pals.
It's got something to do with magnetism.
Jimmy Olsen number 92 in April 1966.
That's my guess.
It's an artificial substance created by the villain Mr. Nero that is magnetically attracted to all substances from Krypton.
Oh, I didn't see that coming, but that's actually pretty neat. I like that.
There you go. Now, red, green, gold Kryptonite debuted in Superman number 192 in January 1967 in an imaginary story where the alloy permanently removed Kal-El's abilities and memories of ever having been Superman. So it changed him completely to human.
So he's just Clark Kent.
Yep. And has no memory of being. Now, granted, it was an imaginary story, but
so that's basically their version of Elseworlds before Elseworlds.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. See, the next one is slow Kryptonite.
Okay, now we're getting into other ways of describing minerals that aren't mineral-like.
Yeah, aren't mineral-like, yeah. Debuted in The Brave and the Bold, number 175 in June 1981. It is a modified variety of green kryptonite produced by Metallo that affects humans similarly to green.
Okay.
Then we hit Crisis.
Oh, boy.
Now, for the most part, all the wacky stuff kind of goes away after Crisis.
Okay.
But in 1985, we hit Crisis. Then after that, Kryptonite X debuted in The Adventures of Superman number 511 in April 1994. It was actually just a fluke, but it was actually a really important fluke. It was created when the Eradicator filtered a barrage of kryptonite fired by the cyborg Superman towards Superman. So cyborg Superman fired off a barrage of kryptonite towards Superman, the depowered Superman that had returned from the dead.
Okay.
The Eradicator filtered it, which then resulted in supercharging Superman and restoring his ability to process solar radiation, essentially returning him to full power after his death.
So he basically filtered out all of the acids in the coffee beans, and it was better.
Exactly. Then there was, and this is the one I was telling you about, pink kryptonite.
Oh, boy.
At this point, they're basically making fun of themselves. It debuted in Supergirl Volume 4, number 79, in April of 2003. In a satire story poking fun at many of the Silver Age comics that introduced new forms of kryptonite. It apparently turns Kryptonians gay.
I was going to say either that or it makes people like musical theater.
Rainbow.
That's true. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
That's right. Now, black kryptonite debuted in Supergirl Volume 5, number 2. You remember I was telling you, anytime they canceled a series and then it started again later.
Yeah.
So this last one was introduced in Supergirl Volume 4, number 79. Now we're in Supergirl Volume 5, number 2, in October 2005. And black kryptonite was introduced, and it can split a Kryptonian into two separate entities, one good and the other evil.
Wow.
So like a Star Trek episode with the crazy dog with the horn on his head.
Yeah. Or William Shatner with eye makeup.
Yes. I'm Captain Kirk.
I just kept thinking, why is he wearing eye makeup?
It's Guyliner. Then Orange Kryptonite debuted in Crypto the Superdog number 4 in February 2007. It gives super abilities to any animal that comes into contact with it for 24 hours.
Oh, boy.
So I need Buddy the Wonder Dog to get some of that stuff.
No, because Buddy would be able to knock you down. I don't think Buddy can knock you down yet, but because you're a big man. Buddy's a big dog. So
Then finally, Periwinkle Kryptonite.
What?
It debuted.
They're making stuff up now, obviously.
It debuted in Superman Family Adventures number 9 in March 2013. Exposure to it causes Kryptonians to lose all inhibitions. This was obviously a non-canon story.
Obviously. Thank you for the primer on Kryptonite.
Yeah, so that's a look at Kryptonite.
Wow. Holy moly! There'll be a test later.
Yes.
You have to mention its Mohs weight and its periodic value. And
that would be awesome. We need like a periodic table of Kryptonite.
you know someone has that on Google right now. You just
do.
Google image search it, and someone's already done it.
Probably have done the work for me. So, but that's our showcase on Kryptonite. And that wraps up this edition of the Ninja Troll Digicast. Chris, I want to thank you very much for being here to be part of this.
This was awesome.
To fill in for Mike. And actually, at some point this year, he's going to be on vacation again. So
generally, people take vacations. So that could happen.
We may have to.
And speaking of my own vacation, I would love to come and be with both you guys and just hang out and like, go ever so often, have a couple, words in edgewise.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you, man.
So, but yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of the Ninja Troll Digicast. Remember, for all the latest news from all around geek culture, make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook.com/Ninja Troll Digicast, Twitter @Ninja Troll Show, and Instagram @Ninja Troll Digicast. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Ninja Troll Digicast. And you can always visit us at ninjatrolldigicast.com. And while you're there, click on the subscribe to iTunes button to get to Ninja Troll on iTunes. And make sure you join us next week. Same Ninja time, same Ninja channel.
You've been listening to the Ninja Troll Digicast. Tune in next time when you'll hear Tim say,
"Hey, maybe you haven't been keeping up on current events, but we just got our asses kicked, pal."
This is the Ninja Troll Digicast, the defenders of all things geek culture.
Don't go ninja, nobody don't need ninja.